He should get credit for that because that's not something he does very often. But you see him telling that Ukrainian reporter that we're going to consider giving the Ukrainians missiles to shoot down weapon ordnance coming into the Ukraine. So I'm going to ask the question flat out. This goes particularly to my beloved MAGA audience because a lot of folks from Tucker Carlson on down spoke very favorably of Russia and were very critical of the Ukraine ever since Trump took office, if not before. Question is, was Trump wrong on Russia? Because it's now sounding like he is starting to become soft on the Ukraine. What's the difference? He's spoken to the president of Zelensky several times. He's been now recently questioning whether Russia wants to end the war. Remember when Zelensky of the Ukraine came to the Oval Office and Trump was accusing him of starting the war and saying that Zelensky was flirting with World War III? Sounds like he is now starting to come to a conclusion that maybe Russia is the bad guy in this. Was Trump wrong on Russia based on what you're hearing from him? Last but not least, this one is kind of comical. You heard this on the news yesterday. I wasn't on yesterday, but I want to ask you folks a quick question. This is just in regards to Trump being asked about the Iranian and the Iranian and Israeli ceasefire, which I think they're still at peace somewhat now, but he dropped an F-bomb.
I'm not happy with Iran either, but I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Now, I saw a hell of a lot of MAGA. I talked to some folks, and I still be online in other forums. Why is MAGA so happy to have a president that swears? You know, I like the fact that he speaks his mind. He doesn't know. Why does MAGA like this? Every time Trump says something controversial, insults the hell out of somebody, swears out in the open, drops an F-bomb, just for shits and giggles. I do want to hear from you folks. Why is MAGA so favorable to that kind of language? So we'll talk about all of that. Nevertheless, this is how the program works. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We'll start taking calls now and reading the comments. If you enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle, I'm going to start out by asking you to follow the program if you're watching on Instagram, TikTok, or if you're currently watching on YouTube Live, give your boy a subscription. We're here generally Monday through Friday. So looking in the comments, go vote for Corn Pop. Who is Corn Pop? Talk about the ceases of the Palestinian and you talk to help them. I don't know where you're saying it. Taco flipped and is pro-Ukraine. Watch his base change too. Zach Built, friend of the program. That's a great point to be made. Now, we know, as I stated earlier in the monologue, MAGA started out very anti-Ukraine, very much favorable to Russia. That's how MAGA started this out. They were no fans of Biden assisting the Ukrainians in any way, shape, or form. Now, Zach Built says, if Trump changes and starts favoring the Ukraine, MAGA's going to do the same damn thing. By way of yes or no in the comments, how many of you guys think that's true? That all it takes is for Trump to switch sides and MAGA's going to do the same thing too. Yes or no in the comments. How many of you folks believe that? All right, look in the comments real quick. That's crazy though. I see in the comments, Gen X says no, we won't. It's the wrong question. The right question is, was the mission a success? Well, was it a success? Was it a failure? Are indeed the same question. You're just wording it exactly opposite. How many of you folks believe that if Trump changes his stance on Russia and starts favoring the Ukraine, MAGA is going to instantly change their stance, whereas they used to be favorable of Russia and start being favorable of the Ukraine just like Trump? Remember, we don't need to send any more money to the Ukraine. We need to bring that money back home and start taking care of Americans first. That was the stance on Ukraine from MAGA. I've had 100 lives on that. If Trump changes his mind, is MAGA going to do the same? What say you? Gangsta, MAGA Reacts. Good evening. Gangsta Grandmother, push the request back in. MAGA Reacts, good evening. Are you there?
I got excited for a second. I thought we were going to debate with gangsters.
I'm not going to put you two together. That's like putting two African cyclists in the same tank. No, but let me ask you though, what are the chances if Trump starts being favorable to the Ukraine, will MAGA do the same?
It's not about being favored to death.
He's giving them missiles. He's talking about giving them missiles.
We don't, again, we don't care what he does like that. Like, the purpose is peace. And right now, you know, with him, it's never about being on one side or the other. His goal is peace, and he will be friendly and antagonistic with whatever side is against his goal. It's the same thing with when Israel tried to fuck up the ceasefire. He was like, fuck you, just don't fucking fuck up the ceasefire over one missile. So it's not about being on a side, you know.
I see.
On Russia's side.
Darren Campbell was hearing you, and he said you can see the change in language already. Now, the whole notion was that the Ukrainians started the war. That's what Trump said. That's what MAGA said. Why would Trump suddenly start helping out a country? Huh?
Every time I've been up here, I've never agreed with that statement that Ukrainians started the war. I honestly don't care who started the war. It's all about how we end the war. And, you know, we gave Russia a chance to take peace. They said no, so we're going to have to give them a reason to say yes to peace by getting their ass kicked.
So,
I mean, how else are you going to get them to say yes?
Oh my
God.
So in other words, he's going to come full circle and start doing exactly what Joe Biden was doing from day one.
No, the difference is, like, Joe Biden was just giving them weapons and letting Ukraine, all four of them.
Is it possible that Joe Biden was helping the Ukrainians because he knew the peace table thing was a waste of time? I mean, Trump said, as what you're talking about, I want you guys to come to the peace table. That failed, and he's going right back to where Biden was already at. How does that look?
I mean, the difference is, Biden never said it. He didn't look like he was looking for peace negotiations whatsoever. So says it every fucking day.
Right, but
a peace deal.
but Trump decided to try peace. Russia did not listen. He stopped helping out the Ukrainians and probably cost the deaths of thousands of Ukrainians by trying that peace shit that Biden knew was a waste of time.
I mean, peace is never a waste of time. You always have to try for peace.
If people are
always trying for peace, and he's just moving the chess pieces to get both sides to agree to peace.
So if you're actively punching me in the face, let's talk about it. It's just, at what point do I hit your back?
That's not what's happening.
That is what's happening. Russia has been a
fight sometimes before you could, try to break them apart.
Is there any point throughout Trump's presidency where Russia has not been actively hitting the Ukraine?
What do you mean? This presidency or the last presidency?
I'm talking about the one there wasn't a war back in 2017. It didn't start in 2021. I'm asking you, or 2022. I'm asking you right now, Trump's been in office for 5 months. Has there been any period of time throughout those 5 months where Russia was not actively in Ukraine on their soil, killing their people?
No, they've been fighting the whole time, but you gotta give peace a chance, and then it doesn't seem to be coming to fruition. So he's gotta balance the field until Russia starts hurting, and then they're gonna want to come to peace. Like, they're gonna want to sign a peace deal.
But that's the point. That's the point.
He's like an even referee, and when he sees one side's winning, he's trying to help Ukraine keep the other side to the peace table. I don't know why is that so complicated?
Because it appears as if Trump wasted a bunch of time, whereas you had the intelligence community. By the way, you had a hell of a lot of Republicans before Trump became president that all knew Russia was the aggressor and was not seeking peace. Trump came along, went against the entire narrative, thinking that Russia was somehow going to come to the table. And by the way, he wasn't offering Russia anything, or Ukraine. Why would he expect them to be peace? You're coming to the table with nothing.
But you said it yourself. They have people dying every day on both sides.
Right. So they both want get back. So what was Trump thinking that was going to lead to peace. I mean, you're going to give, I'm going to stop helping the Ukraine. I'm not doing anything for Russia. I'm just going to walk in and talk them from striking each other after millions of people have died. What made him think that that was going to be the outcome?
I mean, he was hopeful. I mean,
What is he, Jesse Jackson? Keep hope alive?
And not want to die.
What is he, Jesse Jackson? Keep hope alive? They're well aware people are dying before Trump came along. They already knew
What do
that.
you want him to do? Like, let them kill each other? Do you want that to be his goal? To let them just kill each other?
No, if you really want them to...
As he arms Ukraine, he still wants them to come sign a peace deal. He's always pushing peace. I don't think I heard fucking Biden push peace once.
Real quick before we continue, I'm looking on the news. They got News Nation on behind me. Apparently, there's an what do you call it? Active shooter in Santa Monica. So they're looking for the gunman. Apparently, he's still around. But anyway, no. What I'm saying is that if Trump really wanted peace between the Russians and the Ukrainians, then he would come bringing something. You're not going to stop two people from fighting by just simply standing there and talking. That's what he thought he was going to do, is just talk them down.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you need. I mean, it seems to be working with Iran and Israel.
No, it's not working with Iran. It's not working with...
Like 2 days ago, were you thinking they're going to sign a ceasefire that quickly?
No, he didn't talk Iran down. No.
When he was talking about now it's time for peace, you were laughing at that.
No. You got that wrong. MAGA reacts, you got that wrong. Trump didn't talk and cause Iran in Israel to have a ceasefire. He bombed the shit out of Iran and threatened them that if they don't stop, he's going to bomb them again. He took sides. He didn't talk, he took sides. He got involved in it.
Okay, but his goal was always peace. If they would have said, yes, we want peace on day one, he would have never bombed them.
Well, of course you can get peace if you start. If you're hitting me in the face and somebody wants you to stop, of course they can get you to stop if they start beating your ass. That's a big difference. That's a big difference from just talking.
So he's trying the same thing with Russia. He's helping Ukraine be...
No, he's not.
Be stable.
No, he's...
Look, he's just trying to keep things even between Ukraine and Russia so one side doesn't annihilate the other one.
Okay.
They're both our friends. I don't know about you. I have Russian and Ukrainian friends, and I want them both to stop fighting.
So the Ukrainians are our friends now.
They've always been our friends.
Is that how MAGA... Is that the narrative? Is that what has been the narrative from MAGA? Is that the Ukrainians are our friends?
Yes. Why would they be our enemies? Why would they get Ukrainians?
Really? I was told that the Ukrainians are the 5th most corrupt country on earth, that Zelensky is buying his wife a Bugatti with the money we're sending over there. I've been told that Burisma, I've been told constantly by MAGA that the Ukrainians are bad people. Now you're saying they're our friends.
You're a little confused.
I'm very confused.
For wasting money like that. Not mad at the Ukrainians for spending the money we gave them. I mean, why would I be mad at that? If my father gave a bunch of money to a fucking hooker, why would I be mad at the hooker? I'd be mad at my father for giving the money to her.
Maybe your dad needed something that your mom wasn't giving him. No, what I'm simply... Go ahead.
No, but you get the idea.
No, I do not get the idea. No, I do not.
What Ukraine does, we should have been smarter and would have put more controls on that money, or not giving them that much money, or just giving them enough to, keep Russia at bay.
Well, let me clear something up too while we're talking money, because Andres Arias in the comments is clearing it up and saying the correct thing. We never gave them money. We were giving them some of our B-grade weapons. We were giving them lower grade. We never gave them barrels of cash or any of that, like a lot of folks on the right were trying to say, which is why they claim he was buying mansions and Bugattis with cash. We weren't sending Zelensky cash money. That narrative was wrong from day one. But the idea that you're here in June 2025 saying MAGA sees the Ukrainians as friends, when did that happen?
You guys always take what we're doing and you mistranslate it. You've mistranslated everything we've said and done, and especially with Trump. That's like all you do on this channel. Like, you let us talk, but you always take everything we say and you twist it and mistranslate it. Again, like, we want peace both Russia and Ukraine are our friends. That's why, like, when we talk on Russia's side, you're like, oh, now he's flip flopping. No, we're not flip flopping. They're both our friends. We want them to stop fighting, and we're trying to figure out how to do it. But we also don't want Russia to fucking annihilate Ukraine, so we have to give them enough missiles to defend themselves. But we're not giving them missiles fucking Biden gave them missiles to shoot deep into fucking Russia before he gave them self-defense missiles.
This is so this is. I'm really blown away with what you're saying because.
That's because this is what you guys do. You guys make this narrative and believe it. Like, you keep repeating it until you believe it, yet it's really not what we're saying. You guys mistranslate everything we fucking say.
Okay. So do you agree with Trump that he stated in the Oval Office to Zelensky that the Ukrainians started the war? Do you agree with that?
No, I never agreed with that. I've been on here several times and I've never agreed with that.
So our friends attacked Russia.
Again, I said I never agreed with that.
Okay, you don't agree with that part. All right.
No, I never agreed with that part. They provoked Russia in some ways, but that's a different story. They provoked Russia. They didn't fucking attack Russia. They didn't start this war. They just provoked them into. I think it was more Biden becoming president that provoked Russia into attacking Ukraine than anything.
Okay, like I said, you're enlightening me because I've been doing lives for quite a while, and I'm pretty sure you were part of it, but you're disagreeing. MAGA's been very critical of the Ukraine. The idea that they're our friends now. Has anybody else been? I don't know. I'd have to talk to some more viewers, but MAGA was really awfully critical of the Ukraine. I've never heard anybody say they were friends.
Critical of them doesn't make them our enemies. I mean, this is where we're spending our money. If I spent $1 billion on something, I would be very critical of how that money, or even if it was all equipment, if I sent all our weapons to Ukraine, I would be very critical of how those weapons were used. It's not that we're critical because they're our enemies or we hate them. We're critical because we're spending a lot of money there. Like, if you spent $1 billion on a car, wouldn't you be critical of every fucking little thing how the car was built and what color paint it is and how?
Yeah, but they literally were claiming that the money we sent into the Ukraine, as opposed to going to the war effort, Zelensky and his wife were buying mansions and cars with it. This is what was coming from MAGA. You haven't heard any of this.
I mean, I understand where it's coming from, but it's not because we're mad at them, like they're our enemies. It's just we want our money to be spent well.
It's not. It's not true, MAGA reacts. It's not true.
Ukraine, we don't like money being wasted.
I get you don't like money being wasted, but this narrative is not true. It never happened.
Okay, but the purpose behind it is Biden wasting money more than anything.
Okay, so Biden is wasting money. So you just make up a narrative that a world leader is buying Bugattis?
I mean, that's where we were told the money was going.
Told by who?
What do you mean? By Congress, by the bills, by the $90 billion or whatever money they sent over there.
You heard from Congress that Zelensky's wife had a Bugatti from our money?
No. We know from the bills that's where the money went. We know that's where money was going into Ukraine. We know a ton of money was going to Ukraine.
I'm asking you, where did the information that the Ukrainian leadership purchased Bugattis, where did that information come from?
I don't know. I've never heard that before in my life. I feel like it's an exaggeration, like someone was exaggerating and you're taking them literally.
It's all over the internet from the MAGA side of the aisle. I mean, it's literally been everywhere.
I don't know what MAGA you listen to. I mean, I watch Fox News all day. I've never heard anyone say that in a serious way.
Really?
Maybe they say it jokingly and you're taking them literally.
Okay.
I mean, this is like what I wanted to complain about the other day. You're like playing these word games and you should know better. You've been speaking English more than all your life, longer than
Give me a word game. Give me an example. What word game? Give me an example of what you're talking about.
Well, you just gave me an example. Like someone's joking and they're like, "Oh, they're buying Bugattis and shit." I mean, all they're trying to say is they're wasting money, but you're making it sound like they literally buy.
You do know what the definition of a joke is. You got two countries at war. You don't like money going to one country, so you make up that the guy who heads that country is buying his wife a Bugatti. And people just burst out into laughter. You do know the purpose of a joke, right? It's to make people laugh. You see something funny in that?
You know what a metaphor is, right? You've been speaking English all your life. You know
what is a metaphor for joke?
No, it's a metaphor that, well, for wasting money, not for joking. It's a metaphor for wasting money, and it's being done to be comical. So that's what makes it a joke.
So saying...
I don't know why an Egyptian, have to translate or, explain how English works to someone that's been speaking English their entire life.
Because you're getting it wrong. So you're saying that...
It's obvious that...
I'm hearing you. I'm listening to you.
Bugatti through a war zone.
You're telling me that by lying and saying his wife is purchasing Bugattis when it's not true, that's comical. So that should make people start laughing.
Up the English language. Joking around and exaggerating is not lying. I mean, it's a metaphor for what we think they're doing, which is wasting money.
What's the difference between
if he spends the money on suits or Bugattis or whatever, we think he's wasting money, and that's the purpose of the statement or of the joke.
You said joking around and exaggerating is not lying. What's the difference between a lie and an exaggeration?
I don't know. You should look it up yourself.
I don't need to. They're synonyms. I don't need to look it up. They're synonyms.
They're not synonyms. Come on, man. They're not synonyms. We have this fight every day. I mean, you should know better. You've been speaking English all your whole life.
All right.
Yeah. Some guy saying he's rich, and you're complaining that he's only has 2 million instead of 1. I mean, he's still a millionaire, I guess he's not a millionaire. It's only 1 or 2 million.
MAGA.
You see how it's not lying, but he's still rich. It doesn't matter if he has 1 or 2 or 20 million.
Your explanation is a lie. I mean, if you say something that you know is not true when it's coming out of your mouth, it's a lie. It can be an exaggeration too. Like I could go around bragging that I'm working with 12 inches when it's only 9 or something like that. But if I'm making up numbers that are not true, it's a lie.
I think she's still gonna be happy with 9. If you give her 2, then she's gonna be like, you're a fucking liar.
Shit.
If you give her 9 when you have 12, I don't think she's gonna care that you exaggerated a little bit.
Well, shit, we working with more than that, but I gotta move it on. Appreciate you coming through, MAGA Reacts.
I want to debate politics, not English with you, please.
All right. Well, next time, come with some correct English, and we'll get to politics.
You nitpick it so bad. I don't think that's possible.
You're telling me lie and exaggeration are not synonyms, and accusing me of nitpicking. Is that how that works?
If you exaggerate to deceive someone, it's lying. If you're just exaggerating to just exaggerate, you're not lying.
The only purpose of an exaggeration is to deceive somebody, MAGA Reacts. That's the only reason why you would do it. That's the only reason why you would do it.
Not always. Not always. If the person doesn't feel deceived and you're not trying to deceive them by giving them 2 inches when they want, when you tell them it's 12, it's not deception if they're happy and that is close to the truth. You're just adding a little extra to it to get them excited.
And to think you call me a nitpicker. I gotta move it on, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, as always. That is indeed MAGA Reacts. Always welcome on the program. Let me continue on. By the way, tap the screen. Get the likes up to about 20,000. And damn it, I'm not exaggerating. Tap the screen. Let your thumbs not be lazy. An immigrant trying to give English lessons. He was trying. He told me my English was bad, so I'm open to the correction. Before we continue on, a lie and an exaggeration, they're not synonyms. MAGA Reacts is being is like a pretzel. He's getting tied up in knots, says Richard. And Andrew Crosby, 2 off 6 is way more. All right. Hey, phone guy, he's not the one saying the money was spent on cars. Well, Trump had all sorts of negative things to say about Vladimir Zelensky as well. He just didn't say the money was spent on cars. That was what MAGA was saying. And the reason why I brought up what MAGA was saying is because now that Trump is starting to be more favorable to the Ukraine as opposed to Russia, the whole question is, if Trump flips and starts being favorable to the Ukraine, is MAGA, who has been critical of the Ukraine and favorable to Russia, are they just going to flip too? That's the question. Continuing on with the program, though, Sherbert, good evening. Welcome to the show. You need to call Dr. Gadget to have her fix his brain, maybe RoboCop, just to help him out. MAGA Reacts doesn't know the difference. Appreciate that extreme. Major Boo. Sherbert, good evening.
How's it going, Tim?
Now, I saw you were trying to get in there. Did you hear something you disagreed with?
MAGA Reacts drives me crazier than basically anyone else you bring on here.
Really?
He's so intellectually dishonest that, no, it wasn't a lie unless you purposely meant to deceive them instead of lying about omission. Like, the fuck are you talking about? We didn't give them money, we gave them weapons.
Yeah.
Well, I heard something. Well, who'd you hear it from? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It really matters. If you're going to give you shit about...
Well, you dropped out. We'll give him a minute. Are you there? Yeah, you there? You're going in and out.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, he said. His whole complaint was, I have shortcomings in terms of knowledge on the English language, so maybe I wasn't speaking English properly.
Or shit. He talks just fine. He just doesn't want to admit when he's wrong.
All right. So what do you think? You think, because he had a different opinion, but I'll ask you. What do you think if Trump flips his stance to be more favorable to the Ukraine as opposed to his earlier stance of being more favorable to Russia? Do you think MAGA will just flip with him too?
Oh, 100%. And it won't make any sense because they called them the devil and how Russia was our best friends. And then they're going to say, oh, actually, Russia's the devil now. It's so dumb. That's where I'm saying not being intellectually honest with themselves. If you believe something, then you believe it.
Yeah.
I have zero issue with that. But you don't get to just change your mind every 5 seconds because the dipshit in power said, nah, they paid me more money. I'm going to go with them.
So in other words, they don't really need any evidence. If Trump goes, they go.
Tim, has he ever given them evidence? This is the man that still hasn't shown why he won the 2020 election.
It's going to come one day. That's what I was told.
It will never come, and they will be happy and cheering and say that he did the best job that any president has ever done in any presidency.
No.
I have been surprised not to hear that he's the healthiest man alive yet, but I'm still waiting for that to come.
Yeah. So let me ask you, in regards to what's on the monitor behind me, the whole mission failed thing. Now Trump is saying that we obliterated the nuclear facilities in Iran, but intelligence agencies within this country are saying we at best only set their program back a month or so, or a few months. Now Trump is saying that that's wrong and, we really put the hurt on them. Why do you think there's such a difference?
He's a salesman, Tim. He's going to sell you that this car works great and it tops out 120 miles an hour instead of being governed at 80. He's going to always say that we won, we destroyed, we changed everything. Hell, the LA riots that were happening. Oh yeah, the National Guard has already calmed everything down. They hadn't even shown up yet at that point. I don't trust anything Donald Trump literally ever says.
That's our president, Sherbert.
I would love to trust our president, but when you've lied to me 7,000 times, I don't have to trust you anymore. Sorry. Maybe prove your truthfulness and prove to me that you can actually do anything right instead of just setting more gas on the fire every time he opens his fucking mouth.
Well, speaking of him opening that word you use, his fucking mouth, I'm assuming you heard him. I'll play it again for a quick second because I was asking this to other viewers. I'm sure you heard him say this, though.
But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Why is MAGA so fair? I mean, I cannot tell you. Now, this happened yesterday, and I was not on yesterday, but I cannot tell you how many Trump supporters celebrated his dropping of the F-bomb. Why do you think that is?
Well, this is all a TV show to them, Tim. And this is him still beyond The Apprentice, just president version, president edition.
Yeah, but it's a TV show that even kids can watch.
Oh, he said the F word on live TV. Ooh, it's so shocking. Even though we've got way worse out there.
Well, yeah, I do. Okay,
this doesn't bother me at all. This is just another day with him saying more horse shit coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, but I do have to question. We're talking about how we don't want stuff like the LGBTQ, drag queens, and all this stuff shoved down our children's throat, but we got the president on TV dropping F-bombs. I mean, why do they see a difference? I mean, the kids can have access to this. I was able to go on YouTube and find this pretty easy. So this isn't, marked 18 plus or something like that. It's okay because he's the president of the United States. So why are they favorable to this if they're suggesting they want to protect the sanctity of children's innocence?
I don't know if they've ever actually cared about the sanctity of children. I think it's more of they just want to be in control and tell everyone else what to do, kind of like an HOA Karen coming by and measuring your grass, but then they got like a unsanctioned deck in their backyard. I don't know. This is really a nothing story right here with him cursing, but for them to get excited about it is just childish.
Well, you say it's a nothing story with them swearing. You think it would be a nothing story if Obama did it on national TV?
Yes, because I wouldn't care. I really don't think this is a problem or something to even cover. He probably shouldn't say it. It's not very presidential. It's not very dignified. But he's also not dignified at all. So of all of the people that say this, yeah, the crass retard said it. Great.
No, I mean, when you look at him saying it there on that clip, it looks like he wanted it to be national. I mean, because it looked like he wanted to specifically drop the F-bomb. I mean, it looks intentional.
Tim, everything he does is intentional to get national with news. We already know that. He doesn't wake up without trying to figure out what his next inflammatory mark is going to be on that day. That's why we keep having breaking news literally every single day, if not every hour.
Yeah, but how do you respond to folks who would suggest that we should be blessed that we're getting breaking news? That means we have a president that's at least talking to the people and being transparent. You didn't hear from Biden for weeks.
Because he was actually getting shit done and dealing with our Congress and our House of Representatives to get things passed and done. Kamala Harris had the most votes as vice presidency ever because they were actually getting stuff done. Except for the big, beautiful bill that would literally screw over America for the next 20 years. I haven't heard of them actually passing anything. Have you?
The Lincoln Riley Act.
Okay, something small.
Yeah.
But it's all just propaganda and somebody who is literally retarded trying to get more attention every day.
Wait a minute. You're not using the R word to refer to the commander-in-chief. I know you're not doing that, right?
Well, you know I am, because it's 100% what I just did. That man, I believe, is actually retarded.
You got a president who could not even hold a debate on topic. Folks would suggest he was falling asleep while in office, but you go to Trump? I mean, if you think that Trump is the R word, then hell, what did you think Biden was?
I would have rather had Biden in a coma running this country than Trump being out here every single day. I would have signed off. I would have voted for Biden on his death door, knowing that he had stage 4 cancer, over Trump every day of the week.
Is it that bad? I mean, people are going to suggest that sounds...
We probably wouldn't be in another war.
Well, according to...
Probably would have actually stood up to Russia and done something and figured some shit out instead of pandering for 6 months now.
Well, according to...
I thought it was day one. We've been pandering nonstop. He doesn't like to talk badly about dictators.
Maybe he
doesn't ever come at it with a sense of strength. It's just, oh, well, they're cool people, right?
Well, as opposed to day one, maybe he meant on day 100. Well, wait, that's Pat. Maybe day 1,000.
No, that's
yeah, day 1,000.
That would actually be pretty accurate for how he does things, with them saying they're going to cut $1 trillion and then they cut like 10 billion, literally 1,000 of what they said they were going to do. So maybe day 1,000 actually makes sense.
He exaggerates a little bit, but as MAGA Reacts pointed out, that's not a lie. That's just a little bit. He's not doing, what did he say? He's not doing it to be misleading.
Yes, he is. That drives me so crazy with him. He turns himself into a pretzel and then complains that you're going after him, even though he just doesn't make any sense because he's not consistent with his fucking ideals.
Mm. So, and I see in the comments, Cedric Heine says he is just trying to get the war ended, period. Biden would still be
he's
funding
starting
it for
the
them.
war.
Huh?
No. Trump's not ending anything. He's not even really trying to end anything. We're America. We can put some leverage on people, and yet there has been no leverage except for on American soil. And now,
Well, he
Iran,
did you give him any credit for the Iranian Israeli ceasefire? Do you give him any credit for that?
I really wish he hadn't done that, Tim, in the sheer fact that I remember talking to you a while ago about, I think it was Bibi Netanyahu that told us to go to war because of Osama bin Laden having WMDs.
That is true.
And then I found a smash cut of literally like every year or every other year, Netanyahu coming up and saying, Iran is weeks away, Iran is months away, Iran is weeks away. And then it literally went back 30 years, back to 1995 of him saying this shit.
Damn.
So I don't know. I don't trust that we did the right thing here. I think we targeted another country because Israel said to.
Well, I will tell you this, if it offers you any solace, you and MAGA Reacts agree on that. MAGA Reacts was not a fan of us going into Iran either, so you guys finally agree on something.
That's surprising. I thought he'd be all gung-ho.
Now, I mean, Jeremy, who also is MAGA, another frequent guest, Jeremy is so upset about us going into Iran. He says he regrets voting for Trump, and I never thought I would have heard him say that. Said that live on our last program. Never would have expected that.
I don't know if I believe that.
Huh?
I don't know if I believe that.
Even if you don't believe it, even if you think he's lying, when was the last time you heard MAGA say that they regret voting for Trump? I don't even think MAGA would make that up.
Yeah, it only had us almost starting World War III, or maybe it still did start World War III to end up having that happen. Screwing up our economy, screwing up our trade relations with literally the entire world with tariffs. That wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Now this is.
Well,
if you're not going to listen the whole time, you get no sympathy from me now.
Now, in the comments, Carmen points out rightfully that during Trump's first term, there were no major wars breaking out 2016 to 2020. So how do you feel about Trump stating, despite all this stuff that's going on, if he had been elected in 2020 and Biden was not the president, none of this stuff would be happening?
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. I don't think he has any control over world leaders that he thinks he does. And Russia still would have gone in, Hezbollah still would have gone in. Or no, Hamas still would have gone in. He has no control. He is the whiniest little bitch ever, but doesn't actually prove his strength. He just does illegal shit.
You're calling the nation's president, supposedly the leader of the free world, a whiny bitch. Really?
Yeah. He's always whining. He's always the victim. And it's so sad. He doesn't actually show presidential strength. He doesn't show any real manliness at all. He just whines 24/7.
I'm being told he is an alpha male. Wow. You don't seem to like him very much.
He's an alpha male, sure.
Okay, you don't see. But do you at least favor him what he said at the NATO summit where he's considering helping out the Ukraine?
I honestly didn't hear what he was saying about that with Ukraine. But no, he changes his mind every goddamn. That's why he's a taco. He changes his mind every 10 minutes. So why would anyone in Ukraine ever say, yeah, we'll take your help and actually depend on it?
Yeah. Well, he is known to change his mind, but some on the MAGA side of the aisle might refer to that as negotiating. That's kind of what you're doing. You're trying to get an advantage. So, I mean,
it's terrible. He didn't even write his book, The Art of the Deal. So everyone who says that can fuck right off. You don't get 7 bankruptcies while also being a good negotiator.
Wait, hold on.
Be known for not paying off your contractors because you're a good negotiator. You don't get to be the king of debt because you just don't pay your debt companies.
Well,
being a good negotiator.
Well,
that's called fraud, Tim. He's a fraud.
He's a good negotiator with the court. So even though he didn't pay him off, He's able to walk away. So he knows how to work the court system.
No, I'm gonna go with fraud.
All right, Sherbert. Next time I got to bring you up with MAGA reaction, let you guys talk to each other. I appreciate you coming through, though.
Nah, he's just gonna whine that I'm attacking him.
Oh my! I don't think didn't I bring you guys up together before?
Yeah, once, and he didn't believe me that the tax rate, if the big beautiful bill will go in, will raise everyone above, or that makes less than $300,000 a year. And I've seen 100 stories saying exactly that, and nothing of what he said.
Well, I'm sure
he can go fuck himself.
Oh my God! I'm sure he still doesn't believe you, Sherbert. Thanks for coming through.
Have a great night, Tim.
You too. By the way, folks, tap the screen, get the likes on. A lot of lazy thumbs in here. Get the likes on up to about 25,000. We'll take the next caller at that. Cedric Heine, no, I already read that comment. Real quick, he paid the wrong people. What do you mean by that, Miss Mo Betta? Real quick in the comments, Extreme Major Boo says, Sherbert is right. My last caller says he was right. Trump is not doing a damn thing. So a lot of folks favor how Trump is leading this nation. Not doing a damn thing, Extreme Major. What about securing the border? I often give Trump high marks on securing the border. Yeah, some laws are being broken. You got just a few people roaming around the country with masks on and making probably unlawful arrests. Yeah, a few immigrants are coming up missing, but the border is secure. The border is secure. So looking in the comment quick, once again, he says, I have 3 friends that are MAGA. The Trump mobile phones don't even work. Damn. Is that true? The Trump phones ain't working? I haven't heard much about them. Do they have any ads or commercials for those? I haven't seen those. No bass in this guy's voice. It is squeaky like he has no balls. Me? Really? Maybe he's talking about my last caller. I don't know, because I'm often told my damn voice carries too fucking much. Your last caller was the smartest person I've seen you have on. Okay, Arson, there you go. Aaron, rather, not Arson. No, that was Jackie. By the way, sorry about that. Jackie, now Arson. GG, man, keep up the good work. Thank you. Real quick, tap the screen. 25,000. Can we make that happen? Let your thumbs not be lazy. Real quick, looking in the comments here. His people are walking away. What you didn't hear, the wall is not going to get built. I don't believe that, Joanna. You're telling me under Trump, Giovanna, you're telling me under Trump, who has 3.5 years left in office, the wall is not going to get built? I think that's a real easy hurdle for Trump. I mean, he's doing things that people didn't think would happen that are significantly more difficult to achieve than that. I'd be very surprised if the wall doesn't get built under Trump. But the way he's treating people, do you really need to build a wall? Is there really anybody willing to come into this country illegally at this point when you see folks walking around in masks and shit making you disappear? I don't think you need a wall at this point. I mean, it's kind of like sneaking into Auschwitz. I don't think a wall is even needed anymore. Obligated means cover up. Well, and that's what we're asking in regards to President Trump stating that our strike in Iran, tap the screen, get me on the 25,000, we'll take the next caller. President Trump suggesting that we obliterated the facilities in the nation of Iran on Saturday night. Now, we were talking about that on, I don't know what happened to my clip, but I'll see if I can bring it back up. But we were talking about that, whether or not you believe Trump is accurate, because intelligence is coming forward suggesting that we did not obliterate the facilities in Iran, that we only set their program back a few months. So I guess it becomes a matter of, who do you trust? Do you trust Trump? Or, by the way, this started out with CNN, and I know how a lot of you folks feel about CNN. So do you trust Trump? Do you trust Trump, or do you trust CNN News Network? By the way, this one here I'm playing for you, this is on a Fox affiliate.
Welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. We're learning more about the success of the U.S. airstrikes on those Iranian nuclear sites on Saturday. And I want to put this up here on Live Now from Fox from Meg Kennard, the Associated Press, saying early U.S. intelligence reports suggest the U.S. strikes only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months. This, according to the Associated Press. And we're also hearing from different members of the Trump administration about some of this. You can see from Aisha Hasni, Fox News reporter, saying the Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth responding to it, saying, quote, based on everything we have seen, and I've seen it all, our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Our massive bombs hit exactly the right spot at each target. And
I'll interrupt Pete Hegseth's response. How many of you folks have seen the before and after satellite photos of what happened in Iran? Can you really tell the difference? If you don't have people on the ground, you know, maybe the Israelis have the Mossad over there or something like that, or maybe we have some folks from Special Forces or something like that, but those satellite photos don't show shit. Now, apparently, before I go to the next caller, and tap the screen, we're hoping to get to 25,000 on TikTok, but apparently what was that? The bunker buster. 30,000 pound piece of ordnance, and they dropped, I think, they dropped over a dozen of those things. God knows how much they cost. I believe they announced how much they cost. We spent a lot of money going after Iranians' nuclear facilities. My guess is we could have probably, let me just say this. How many folks heard MAGA complaining and bitching about Obama giving the Iranians a pile of cash? You think we didn't spend more than that on this attack? I just want to keep that in mind. You think we didn't spend more than that on Saturday trying to blow up their shit? But based on what we've seen, these 30,000 pound bunker buster bombs, all they do is put a hole in the earth, and supposedly they go deep on the ground and then they explode and take out the actual target. But there's no way to know, because on the surface, very little has been damaged. So you don't know if it's all rubble below and the earth is hollowed out, or kind of like a depth charge. You drop a depth charge in the water to take out a submarine. That depth charge could explode and destroy the submarine, or it could explode below or above the submarine and not damage it at all. But on the surface of the water, all you see is a splash. You don't know what happened. So the question is, where is Trump getting this information that their facilities were obliterated? Going back to the box, we'll continue on. Mr. Greenland, I'd love to talk to you. You know, he's in Greenland. What now? Has Trump left your country alone, by the way, Mr. Greenland?
Not really. He has mentioned Greenland again, and ordered Pentagon to put Greenland in protectorate something. I forgot the exact words.
Let me ask it to you this way, because obviously Trump has been talking about taking over your country from the moment he became president. But how do you guys believe he's just talking crap, or do you believe there's a real chance that he's going to act out on what he's saying?
We don't believe what he's saying he would do, but we have to take it seriously.
And what are you now? You guys are aware that we attacked Iran, correct?
Yeah.
Did you expect that to happen?
Yeah.
You did, but you don't. But you're not taking seriously the possibility that Trump may try to take over Greenland.
We take it seriously. What he says, he might do it, so we have to take it seriously. But Greenland is still part of NATO, so to take Greenland, that will be end of NATO.
You think NATO would disband over your country?
That would mean a war against USA from the rest of the NATO.
But that's what I'm asking. If all of a sudden Trump violated the agreement between the NATO member nations and decided to attack one, being your country, you believe the remaining members of NATO would take up arms against the United States?
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed, huh? I don't know about that, Mr. Greenland. I listen, I hope it never happens. I don't think we have any business threatening to take your sovereignty away, but you're talking about the potential deaths of millions of people for your country.
Yeah,
And you believe that's what the world would do?
yeah.
Why aren't they speaking out more? I mean, we just had a NATO summit today where Trump was able to speak. Was he even asked any questions at all about your nation?
No, not directly. Indirectly, the French president was here in Greenland just before the G7 meeting. So it was a direct message to Trump.
I'm trying to. The reason I'm asking that is because I'm not seeing any major concern in regards to protecting your nation's sovereignty from the remaining members of NATO. They're not being they're more outspoken about what Russia's doing to the Ukraine, which is not even a member of NATO, than they are about him threatening your country.
Yeah, I think everybody is trying to keep it quiet so it doesn't explode and suddenly become a big problem. Because attacking Greenland would be a bigger problem than Russia.
I don't know. You think keeping it quiet is a good solution for a NATO member state threatening to take over your country? You think the best solution is to keep it quiet and not say nothing about it? I mean, because he's constantly saying something about it over and over again.
Yeah, but in my opinion, personal opinion, we should, NATO and the rest of Europe should do a lot more. Put soldiers in Greenland on missiles or something. Do something just to scare off Trump. But our government is trying to keep it low in media. So hopefully someone Trump forget about it.
Does he come across to you as a leader that looks like he's going to forget about that?
No.
Right.
I think Trump is stubborn and never lets go if someone makes him look like a stupid guy, because he is one.
You think Trump is a stupid? Well, my last caller said the same thing. To me, based on what you're saying, though, your approach towards the possibility of the United States taking over your country amounts to not much more than thoughts and prayers, almost sound like. I mean, are you guys actively doing anything where even the Iranians have allegedly sent trucks into their nuclear facilities to potentially remove uranium to prevent America from bombing it? Are you guys doing anything with America threatening you damn near as much as they were threatening Iran?
Yeah, we are negotiating help from Europe. France has promised and already put a nuclear submarine in Greenland Ocean. And Germany has promised to put more soldiers if it becomes a problem or it becomes obvious.
It's already a problem. He's already. I mean, now I know there's U.S. soldiers on your land now. Are there any other countries that have soldiers and military personnel on the Greenland territory?
The Danish has, but not worth mentioning. Few hundred.
Because that would show a true contingent of support for Greenland if the NATO member states would send over a few people and put them in your country. That way they're deliberately in harm's way to show the United States bombing this country or taking over this country means taking over our citizens. If they're not sending you anybody, even when we attacked Iraq back in early 2003, I think it is, and people didn't even agree with the attack, just to show support for the U.S., they did send small amounts of soldiers, some of those countries did, just to show support. They're not sending anybody to your country, Mr. Greenland. That doesn't tell you something?
I think it hasn't come to that yet. Most of Trump has done is always have been rhetoric, just to be posturing and shouting, I will do that, and that will happen, but it doesn't.
Okay. So you feel you're taking solace more in the belief that he's just talking and nothing's going to come out of it.
Yeah. And
I don't.
I want to say about U.S. what's going on with your country. from our point of view, right now USA is like a frog in a slowly boiling water. You're gonna
Explain. What do you mean by that?
frog doesn't come out if the water boils slowly until it dies.
Damn. So you're saying America appears to be like a frog in a pot of water where they're slowly raising the temperature of the water, and the frog is boiling to death, but he doesn't realize it because it didn't start out with him scalding. So you're saying that we're destroying ourselves, but America don't seem to realize that.
Yeah, definitely. It's so weird to watch from outside that you're not doing anything at all. Try to help yourself.
Actually, well, I'll tell you right off the bat, I gotta disagree with you to some degree because there are protests and riots taking place all over the place, or mainly protests. There's not really a lot of rioting, but there's protests happening everywhere. And the party that is not in power, they're doing as much as they can. I mean, it's not like you turn on U.S. media and you don't see people that are critical of Trump. They're literally everywhere. They just are currently not in power to do anything about it.
Yeah, but it's supposed to come from the Republican side, who have some sense of nationality. I'm trying to say, Republicans are the reason you're about to lose your own country.
You think America is at risk of losing it? How?
You're gonna have a dictator.
But if Trump turns into it, by the way, he's almost 80 years old, so he's not going to be a dictator for long. But if Trump turns into a dictator, we don't lose the country. We just have a different type of country.
Yeah, but you're gonna have a different dictator after that. Even worse.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're not the only one to suggest that Trump is running the country like he wants to be a dictator. But I don't know. I don't know if he can actually make that happen. You're right that there's probably not enough Americans speaking up if you think that's the path we're headed down. But I don't know if he could actually pull that off.
But if you follow the Project 2025, they're still working on it step by step, and they're succeeding.
Well, some of it. I mean, Trump is leaning far right in the Project 2025, lesser degree, Agenda 47. They are far right documents, and I wish I could disagree with you on that, but we are headed in that direction. I don't know how far, because a lot of the courts in this country are stopping Trump from doing various parts of his agenda. He's getting a lot of it through, but some of it's being stopped.
Yeah, but that's the point of this slowly boiling water. It's gonna happen if you're not careful.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that, because you say we are at risk of letting our country go and become a democracy. I'm going to ask you, as a member of NATO like yourself and all the other NATO member states, if they also, because that's one of the purposes of NATO, is to prevent democracies from developing. If America is headed down that path, I'm also going to ask, why the hell isn't NATO more outspoken?
Europe is behind on US. Right now, NATO is 80% US. Europe is trying to build up their military, but that takes years before you can do anything about it. So NATO and Europe is trying to take it slow before they can really say anything about it, because US right now is too dangerous.
Dangerous how?
They're threatening our country to take it.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm going to tell you this. You're talking about they're trying to take it slow. That's a bad approach. If you think Trump is doing what you believe, that he's trying to take your country, trying to become a dictator, Trump don't move slow. So if your approach in addressing him is slow, you're going to lose. That's why I started out by questioning why you're remaining silent. You see how quick we went from talking about going into Iran to actually doing it? You don't get the opportunity to move slow when this guy is making moves every day on TV.
Yeah, but we don't have any military. We don't have any weapons. We cannot fight with missiles. We don't have anything at all. We are 56,000 people, peaceful, loving country, and we never had a warrior culture in our entire cultural history, 25,000 year history. We never had a war.
Well, if the leader of NATO, which you said America's like 80% of NATO or whatever you said, if the leader of NATO is the one threatening you, maybe the first thing you should do is go on the world stage and talk about leaving NATO and siding with Russia or the Chinese. I mean, it sounds like you're going to need a friend. If America's threatening you, and the rest of NATO you do believe, though, that the NATO member states would rise up and fight the United States on your behalf. So I guess there's that. I don't know if I believe you, and I don't know if I agree with you, rather, in that. I think that NATO, as you say, they're taking it slow. They're remaining quiet. I think if the United States started trying to take over Greenland, they would try diplomacy with Trump and pretty much stand by and let America march in your country and take it over. I mean, I think that they would come up with a reason why, as you say, they're dangerous. They got more military might. I don't think that NATO is going to be your savior if Trump makes good on this promise.
NATO, they're gonna have to step up. In Greenland, if America attacks us with military power and forces, we will fight, even if we're gonna lose. If we're gonna lose, but it will maybe take us 400, 500 years before we have independence again, but we will still fight.
Good luck, Greenland. I gotta move it on. I think you gotta find a better approach to that. You need another plan. That ain't gonna do it. I think you need a better 400 or 500 years, you'll get your sovereignty back. I think you need another plan.
Yeah, but we are only 56,000 people. So what choice do we have?
I just told you. I just told you.
Our only hope is Europe.
No, I just told you. No, that's not true. I just told you. If all of a sudden the United States is threatening your sovereignty, find out who happens to be enemies of the United States and start making deals. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just telling you.
Everybody would help if they can, and somehow we will find help anyway, form or shape.
I also would not be against advising you to start talking to other members of NATO, other NATO member states, and trying to convince them to threaten to disband out of NATO. I mean, if he's going to threaten to attack another NATO member state, I need you guys to start speaking on our behalf. I mean, we just had a NATO summit today. Nobody said a damn thing about your country, but yet you believe they're going to step up and protect you?
Yeah, I still believe 60-70% of US would still help us. I still believe that.
All right. Good luck, man. I gotta appreciate you coming through, Greenland. Thanks for coming through. I gotta move it on. All right, and moving on with the program, by the way, I always enjoy talking to him. I like some of my foreign guests. We get a few of those. He's in Greenland. He's on the ground there. And I hope we're wrong. I don't want us to go in threaten the sovereignty of another nation, but I'm going to tell you, Trump does, look, when Trump says something, he does try to make it reality. He don't always say things that are factual. Yeah, we can talk about that. But when he says he has something in the works, he usually tries to make that happen. So if I'm in Greenland, I wouldn't just pretend like there's nothing to that. Sounds like everyone is in Greenland. No, he's the only one. Oh, you mean in his comments? Yeah, I got a few folks in this comment section that's saying they're in Greenland. Filthy says Greenland just became a state. And Dwight Dorsey says Tim is a traitor. Wow. Yikes. I guess I've been called worse. I'll take traitor for 200. Does Trump still have his Tesla, or did Elon get it in a divorce? Last I heard, he was talking about either selling that Tesla or auctioning it off and giving the money to a cause. But my guess is that red Tesla is probably not at the White House anymore. You know Trump, he's about to go get on Marine One or about to go to a trip on Air Force One or go and talk to the media, and get that shit out of here. That's what Trump would say. Get that the fuck off the lawn. That Tesla is probably not there. Let me go back to the bots. You know Trump is very petty. That ain't gonna be there. Andy, good evening. Welcome to the program. Asking that question, do you believe Trump? Trump said the Iranian nuclear program has been obliterated. I'll give Andy a moment to come up here. I don't know what's going on there. It looks like my next guest may not come up. Iran was absolutely necessary. It must stay. It must stay there, though. No boots on the ground. Well, Mike, that is part of what we're asking. What happens if the attack in Iran was not successful, as many of the intelligence sources are saying? It only set their program back a few months. That means it doesn't take them long to get back up to weapons-grade uranium. They were at 60%, getting up to 90%. So, do you go back in? We haven't agreed to.
Weapon. They're nowhere near that close. That is the same bullshit that Israel's been saying since 1992. 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. If the only person saying that is Israel, I'm sorry. You have to look at them and go, hey, all these other people are telling me no, it's only you. Why have you been telling me? And why would you trust them if they've been telling you the same bullshit lie for maybe 25 years?
Why do you think Israel keeps saying that?
Because they want us to wipe Iran off the map for them. Because you know what they found in Iran this week or last week?
What?
That rare earth metal, I think it's antimonium, the one that they use to make rare earth computer chips and all of that. Huge cache. You know what's funny? Ukraine and Gaza and Iran all have huge caches of minerals. And then we have Netanyahu, Donald Trump, and Vladimir Putin, who are all friends. Let's not forget.
So what are you saying? This is some kind of
these caches of rare earth minerals. And don't forget, Trump wanted Greenland too. Also rare earth minerals.
So this is nothing more than you make it sound like this is nothing more than a cash grab of sorts.
Well, I mean, let me put it this way. Donald Trump was having a horrible time in America. People were complaining about California. They were telling him nobody came to his parade. You know, Russia was taking a bunch of crap. All of a sudden, because of this one little incident, which we didn't do hardly any damage at all to Iran, we spent $400 million, flew over there for the show, and everybody forgot about California.
I'm hearing that it was obliterated.
No, and even Trump said so today. They're walking that back.
Really? I haven't heard that. I'm actually watching News Nation right now, and they have a ticker at the bottom that says White House B-2 bombers obliterated nuke program. So they're still saying it. I don't know.
What did you say you're watching? Newsmax?
News Nation. News Nation.
Okay, just because the news organization lies doesn't mean the White House. Like, Trump came out and said it, and then he went back to saying the other, but he has said it today. And he kept, like, it is hard for him to keep saying that shit at NATO when they all know better. You know, he just looks like the Emperor's New Clothes walking around naked.
Why would he say the exact opposite of what the intelligence agencies are saying, in your opinion?
Because he needs America to think that was a clean, good thing, and that we didn't waste any money. Otherwise, his supporters were going to jump his ass because he said no new wars.
You really think MAGA?
And a bunch of them are still pissed off regardless. Oh, yeah. His approval ratings are in the mud. Even Fox put up an approval rating that showed him on the downslide, and he threw a fit. He's mad at Fox because they didn't show a poll that showed him up. Almost every single poll has him below 40.
You know, they've been saying Trump's polls.
A couple of them say 45, but most of them all. And so he is nowhere above. And those numbers are all down from the last time. So even if, you know, you think, well, you know, maybe some people, no, all those numbers are down.
They keep saying, though,
said,
but Andy,
they would regret their vote.
Andy, they.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
You have hardcore people in here that never want to change their minds. And the fact that you had one, that's amazing. And I've had more than that. So they are, you know, you can say what you want, but some of them do regret their vote.
I haven't heard. Do I have any MAGA watching this program right now? Type yes in the comments. If you hold on, hang on, hold on. Let's have a conversation, Andy. Let's have a conversation. Wait a minute. Do I have any MAGA in the program right now that voted for Trump and you regret your vote? I'd be curious to see if there's any yes in the program. How many MAGA voted for Trump and you actually regret your vote? I don't hear that very often. Go ahead.
I mean, you don't hear it very often, but you actually had one. When you said you hadn't seen any at all, you finally had one. I've had several. There have been several on other panels. You can say what you want, but they exist.
And they admit it.
His poll numbers are down, and I think all of this was a show so everybody would forget this, and we could concentrate on other things, and he thought things would go better, but instead his poll numbers tanked anyway.
They've been saying, Andy, Trump's poll numbers suck he keeps winning. He's getting what he wants to do. He's getting done what he wants. He's getting his own agenda. They keep saying his poll numbers are bad, but the guy keeps winning.
Well, I mean, his poll numbers may be bad. I mean, he may keep winning, but he won this election because a bunch of people sat out. I mean, a bunch of people didn't vote. I mean, and she's a woman, and she's a black woman. So, I mean, there are a lot of things. It's not because he's great. He's trying to say he won the 2020 election again. We all know different.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth Ross
cannot stop with the lies. It is bad when every time he speaks, I feel like I have to go look it up.
Yeah, he says a lot. Elizabeth Ralston in the comments says, don't regret anything. That's a woman. Elizabeth Ralston says, don't regret anything. Love Trump. Trump's poll numbers are higher than ever. Women,
obviously she can't read a poll. Stop. Then obviously she can't read a poll because there's an interactive poll on two of those sites that showed Trump's first term and his second term, and his polling's worse this time. So I'm sorry that MAGA, Trump's biggest voter base were uneducated, pale people that never voted. So I'm sorry that, they can't read a fucking chart, but that is not on me. And just because they say it don't mean I'm lying. And I really resent that, by the way.
Uneducated, pale people. Really? You don't think any MAGA have it? You think most of MAGA is uneducated?
Unless they're filthy rich.
I don't know. I mean, you do understand there are legitimate reasons to vote for Trump, right?
Name one.
Economy, protecting the border.
Tim, we've lost 3% on the GDP. The stock market may have come back up, but we got 4 months worth of losses where it didn't make a fucking dime. Wherever, let's not pretend like the economy's good. Prices are up. Gas is up. Gas is really going up now.
You think gas is up?
Yeah, because my gas where I live went 30 cents yesterday.
It ain't. In
a day.
My gas went down some. I don't know. I mean, look.
They were talking about shutting off the, what do they call that? The Mars, I can't pronounce the name of the strait.
The Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
they got that out. You can forget. Look, Donald Trump is begging people and our allies to start drilling oil. If he's begging the allies to start drilling and telling people at home to start drilling, he anticipates those high oil prices.
Yeah, and I see some folks are saying that gas went up. Somebody said gas went up 23 cents a gallon in their area. So, all right. I mean, I haven't seen it go up to the point where I'm like, damn, it's expensive. I mean, if you look at the price of gas from...
I drive a car that has premium gas.
Well...
So if it goes up 30 cents, you fucking notice. You're like, damn.
Yeah. I haven't seen the price of fuel go up to the point where I'm regretting going... And I fill up 2 to 3 times a week. I mean, I'm in my car all damn day for work, so...
Well, Tim, we only just let bomb Iran the other day, and let's let the summer progress, and prices are also going to go up because it's fucking hot as hell.
Yeah. But isn't it normal for gas?
Like, the United States is having one of the biggest heat waves ever. But we're going to quit studying we're going to quit studying climate change because that makes sense.
But isn't it normal for the price of fuel to go up during the summer anyway?
Generally, yeah, but it's due to travel and stuff. People aren't really traveling. This happened right after he fucking popped Iran and gas prices went ding in a day. That's bullshit, by the way, because I know damn good well they didn't pay extra for the gas that they had in the ground. They're making more money for the anticipation of the gas that's going up, which is fucking shit too. This is why we bitch about the 1%, and they need to pay more taxes, because currently Trump just spent $400 million in the middle of damn Iran. All the money he's already wasted at home. He's already run the budget out of the fucking ICE agency. How's he doing good on the economy when he's broke already? The United States will be bankrupt if he keeps this shit up.
You know, you mentioned that 400 million bomb in Iran. I just made that comment earlier where they talked about Obama was giving Iran a bunch of cash. I'm like, we pretty much gave them the same thing.
That cash went to Qatar. Let's stop. Obama didn't give them a bunch of cash. That cash went to Qatar. They monitored that money. They give money only for humanitarian aid. And Donald Trump obviously trusts Qatar because he's getting a plane from them. So what's the damn problem?
Yeah, he changed his tune.
They're not just getting money to buy whatever they want to. And when Republicans say that, I go back to they're uneducated.
You gotta stop saying it. There's plenty of educated. I mean, middle class.
They say all kind of horrible shit. The only thing I'm saying is they're uneducated. Donald Trump on the daily. Go read a True Social post about Democrats. Me, they saying they're uneducated as fucking kind.
I'll agree with that. They are very insulting to the Democratic Party. I will agree with that. What about the F-bomb? You seen Trump drop the F-bomb. Why do you think MAGA likes that so much?
I don't know, because if a Democrat does it, like Jasmine Crockett, they go after her ass. Did you see the difference in how they treated Jasmine for saying it and how they treated Trump for saying it? So is that racism or that's just party hatred? Which is that?
Some of it might just be love for Trump.
No, I'm talking about...
I get what you're saying. Look, anytime... I know on my own program, anytime...
You're a hypocrite, wait. If you're going to be a hypocrite all the fucking time, all the time, then you can't expect anybody else to respect you. Well, you ain't got any fucking respect for yourself. I
know on my own program, anytime you have an African-American woman that comes on the program and she's passionate or argument, I mean, they just, it's a different opinion, you know, what they call it, the diary of an angry sister or something like that. I mean, it's just different. I mean, I get what you're saying. I agree with it. Jasmine Crockett is going to get treated a lot differently, throwing around F-bombs and swearing. Same thing with Maxine Waters than other people. It's just something about a black woman.
Yeah, because they're black women.
Yeah.
That's racism and misogyny all wrapped into one. So I look, if they want us to take them seriously, when they sit there and talk about Hunter's corrupt, but they look at Don Jr. raking in the cash while Daddy's in office and they go, oh, good for him. I'm sorry. They have no credibility.
I can't argue with that, Andy. I got to move it on, but I certainly agree with the comparison.
Oh, one more thing.
Sure.
Did you see where he told the VA they didn't have to help Democrats and single people?
It's made the news. Yes, that is. I don't know how that got through, but yeah, I did hear that.
Now, you tell me what would happen if a Democrat president did that.
Think about the Michigan courthouse.
You're smiling because you don't want to say shit.
No, I'm answering it.
You and I both know they'd lose their fucking mind.
Yeah, think about the Michigan governor's building during the COVID mandates. It would be something like that. So, yeah, that's crazy.
Well, look, they get upset because Hillary called them deplorable once, and Joe Biden said we were heading into fascism, and they still hold on to that. But Donald Trump can call us every putrid name, deny us health care and everything else, and they're fine with that. They lack humanity.
That's his claim to fame.
Tim, have a great day. Drop me.
All right. Appreciate it, Andy. Thank you. All right, moving on with the program. Tap the screen. By the way, this is an uncensored program. We don't block, ban, or censor. Been MAGA friendly since day one. Always will be. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome on the program as well. You can be critical of anybody on this program, including yours truly. If you favor, if you favor uncensored programming such as this, feel free to give your boy a sub if you happen to be watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Instagram or currently watching on TikTok. Follow me. Give me a follow. Show the polls, Tim says AE. Well, my guess is the polls are going to be different depending on where I pull them up from. I'm assuming MSNBC's polls on Trump are going to be totally different than Fox. So, I mean, there's even when it comes to the posters, like Quinnipiac, Rasmussen, stuff coming out of Prager. I mean, even the posters are biased. Quinnipiac, some would say lean left, Rasmussen leans right. I mean, no matter where you get the polls from, people are going to question that as well. But I do believe, based on what I've heard, Trump's poll numbers are low. Trump's poll numbers are not very favorable right now. Could be everything from the unexpected attack of Iran to agents wearing masks, rounding up people all over this country. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons why his poll numbers are probably low. I get that a hell of a lot of MAGA voted for securing the border and things like that, but some of Trump's tactics are heavy-handed. I mean, because some of those folks getting rounded up were Trump supporters, were people who was favoring Trump over Kamala Harris. Even if they couldn't vote, they still cared about the U.S. economy. They still may have bought into what Trump was promising. Because Trump wasn't promising to go around the country rounding everybody up. He was promising to get out rapists and murderers. So even if you're in the country illegally and you're coming here just to work, just to put in a hard day's work, you got an asylum claim in. So you're not here illegally. So you came to the country, you're seeking asylum, you have no intentions of doing any damn thing other than working. You're not here to commit any felonies or join MS-13 or Trinidad Agua. Okay, you can't vote, but you're listening to what Trump is saying, you're listening to what Kamala is saying or Joe Biden, and you might find Trump more favorable because he's talking about strengthening the economy and no tax on tips. And you didn't expect him to all of a sudden completely cancel the asylum program and turn everybody that had an asylum case into a fugitive. You didn't expect that. You was expecting him to go after rapists and murderers. So yeah, my guess is his poll numbers are certainly taking a hit with the Hispanic community because, shit, I would assume most Hispanics in many communities probably know of at least one person that's been negatively affected by Trump's deportation policies. Just like, remember when September 11th happened and in New York, everybody knew at least somebody that had some, that were involved in that. There are communities in this country where everybody probably knows or are related to at least one person that's been dealing with that shit. If you don't know anybody that's been deported or somebody who is trying to get, you probably know somebody that got wrongfully stopped. Because if you're brown and you're in a community where most people are brown, your chances of being profiled and stopped for doing nothing at all are pretty damn high right now. Anyway, looking in the comments, liberals have nobody to run in 2028. Aaron, and I'll go back to the box. Tap the screen, get me on up to 35,000. There's some validity to it. You're saying that the liberals have nobody to run in 2028. 3.5 years before the election. So let's go back to 4 years from today. June 2021. Biden had just taken office 5 months ago. The Republican Party was equally in shambles as the Democratic Party is today. Trump had a whole host of federal cases ahead of him. Many folks didn't even believe he was going to be able to stay out of jail. So when you say the Democrats do not have anybody to run for them, 3.5 years before the next national election, I'm going to submit to you that the Republican side of the aisle was in the same position 3.5 years ago, whereas, or right after the election in the same period. You had folks talking about Trump was still secretly in control of the country through the military, and they were going to have Nancy Pelosi arrested, and Trump was going to be the 17th president of the corporation and all this crazy shit. You didn't have a clear-cut leader back then either. You got to give it time. You're rushing things. It's only been 5 months. You got to give it time. Anyway, looking in the comments section, I'll go back to the box rather. What ideas would you want a Democrat to run with? It's a great question. Eddie, for me, law and order, because this is something the Republican Party ran. Remember the Democrats are all about, running from the police, defunding the police and all that. Right now, the party that is lacking law and order right now seems to be the Republican Party. Talking about no due process and all this crazy shit. People getting randomly profiled and stopped. Obviously, Trump pardoned a hell of a lot of January 6th protesters, and then the law and order portion of the Republican Party doesn't seem to be there the way it used to be. That's something they used to use to chastise the Democrats with. The Republican Party is not coming across as the party of law and order anymore. So I would start with that, bring back some law and order, bring back some democracy to the Republic. But of course, I wouldn't mind seeing some economic success as well. And Trump ran on ending wars. How about that? How about somebody who's actually trying to make that happen? Now, let me go back to the box. Continuing on with Jeremy. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Republicans aren't out blocking expressways. That's the only thing you can think of when it comes to crime. Yanking people out of their cars that are American citizens. How about that? I would rather you block my car in traffic than yank my black ass out the window, demanding that I prove I'm an American citizen. I'll trade places with that. Jeremy, good evening.
How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good. So, what about that? You know, what happened to the party in terms of you guys being the party of law and order? What has happened to that?
It depends on who you talk to, but I would say we are still very much the party of law and order for the most part.
You don't think these dudes roaming around with masks are violating any laws at all?
Not necessarily. I haven't seen anyone name a specific case where someone has been proven to be an American citizen and where they were deported anyway.
Well, the fact is, you have no right to be stopping American citizens. He don't need to be deported. I mean, you're ruining his day before we get to the deportation part, stopping him because he's brown. Is that not bad enough?
First off, most of these people who were being arrested already had cases on them and were already targeted.
You didn't hear nothing I just said. I said people are being wrongfully profiled. Americans.
Okay. Do you have any evidence for that?
Yeah, there's tons of videos of American citizens. I ran a live on one the other day of an American citizen he was filming the police, filming ICE, making encounters at a Home Depot, and just because he was filming it, they went and smashed his car window out and actually detained him. And he did nothing wrong. They had to end up dropping the charges, but they were about to make up a bunch of phony charges on the guy until it turned out a lot of folks that were watching it filmed the encounter, and they could clearly show that what they were trying to charge this guy with, he hadn't done anything wrong. He was an American sitting in his car filming him, and they went up to him and started fucking with him.
Okay, so if that's the case, then it's perfectly okay for them to just get charged with violating his rights, but that's a different story.
But on its face, you don't think most of these folks roaming around the country with masks on, you don't really think many of them are breaking any laws at all?
Not by having masks on, no.
Why are they wearing masks? When did the Republican Party when did the Republican Party support G-men walking around with no identifiers on?
Okay, well, first off, let's be 100% honest here. Plenty of these ICE agents get targeted. They get targeted, their families get targeted, their lives can be in extreme danger when they do these kind of operations.
You realize how many ATF and just regular cops on beat patrol get targeted? Since when do cops get to mask their identity? I mean, becoming a cop opens you up to getting targeted. That's part of being a cop.
Yeah, but this is a much smaller organization.
What does that got to do with it?
More sensitive of job than just being a beat cop.
So because you get targeted, I mean, so you think every agent should be able to mask their identity because some of them get targeted?
When it comes to the severe level of danger that they're facing right now, yes.
You do realize, as I just stated, most cops face severe levels of danger. How about being a state trooper pulling somebody over at 9 or 10 o'clock at night in the middle of the highway? These guys are showing up with ARs and all kinds of shit. Their safety is pretty clear. They have overwhelming force. But some cop that's roaming around the streets by himself, he doesn't get to hide his identity?
Well, first off, those cops that are pulling people over, they have bulletproof vests, they have the same weapons, and they just might not have them at the ready, and they might not have the element of surprise.
You don't think ICE has bulletproof vests and weapons at the ready?
No, but I'm saying you're acting like the state trooper doesn't have any protection whatsoever.
I'm telling you, ICE shows up with a lot more protection than the average beat cop.
Okay.
So why do they get to hide their identity even though they're showing up 6, 10, 12 deep, and the dude that's pulling you over on the side of the highway all by himself, he doesn't get to do that?
Can we be so for real right now? Can we be for real? Let's think about this logically. The average cop is probably going to pull someone over for, say, like a traffic violation or something like that, and they're not regularly dealing with as people who came here illegally. The people who came here illegally oftentimes have connection to cartels, because the cartels are usually the ones that smuggle them in.
Have you seen any evidence at all of any ICE officer facing somebody that's really pulling out a firearm? Because beat cops get shot all the damn time. Have you seen any of that actually happen in the ICE? I mean, they're claiming that people are threatening them. The cops are actually losing their lives on the job. Have you seen any of that happen in the ICE?
Well, when they have those masks on, looks like it's not as much of a problem. Looks like it's doing its job.
It ain't. The mask is not to protect their safety. The mask are to protect them from liability. The mask, look, if somebody wanted to hurt you, wearing a mask ain't gonna stop it. They're coming 10 deep. They don't need the mask. The mask is to stop you from identifying them.
Wait a minute. Let's be so for real right now, okay? Let's be so for real right now, okay? If all of a sudden you find out that your brother wasn't just like going to jail for a few days, or at worst, or maybe even just has got pulled over for like having a broken taillight, but he was actually going to put it back in El Salvador where he belongs, with all of his like criminal friends or something like that. You're all the way in Indiana. He's going all the way back to El Salvador, and you found out which cop did it. You're saying that there's no chance that someone, it could be like, why don't we do a drive-by in that guy's house?
You realize how many people what you just said has actually happened to, and there hasn't been any ICE drive-bys? In El Salvador, most of the people that were sent there have no criminal history in the United States. And yet the only thing they did was come here illegally, or their status is undocumented. And yet they're sitting in El Salvador, and yet there hasn't been a single drive-by. Where are you getting that from?
It's just common sense, dude.
Common sense based on nothing. It hasn't happened. Like I just told, I want you to.
Wearing masks.
What?
Because they're wearing masks.
Okay. All right. I think you're putting the safety of police over you're treating the safety of ICE as if it's more important.
Numbers. You know that, right? You know that, right? They have badge numbers that are visible.
Not all of them. No, that's not true. I mean, I've done videos on. No, they don't all have badge numbers that are visible. They do not all. And by the way, what does that really mean? How do you even know if that's legitimate?
How do you know?
Yeah. I mean, if they're hiding their face, how do you even know if the badge number they're giving you is legitimate?
How do you know someone who isn't hiding their face isn't impersonating a police officer right at that moment?
Okay. I want you to hear this, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Spoke with is a U.S. citizen. He provided us with documentation of his legal status. He says this experience has shaken his faith in the immigration enforcement efforts of President Donald Trump, for whom he voted, he says. This is what Yenzi Machado managed to record on his phone Wednesday. He says while he was driving to work with two other men, he was stopped by ICE agents on Lamont Drive in Manassas, a short distance from his home. He says he was confused by what was happening, why agents surrounded the pickup truck. He spoke with our sister station, Telemundo 44 reporter Rosbelis Quinones, who was the first to report his story.
And they just got out of the car with the guns in the hands and say, turn off the car, give me the keys, open the window. And, everything was really fast.
Machado says the agents said the name of a man they were seeking for a deportation order, someone who had given Machado's home address. He said that was not his name, and he did not know anyone by that name. He offered to show them this, his real ID compliant Virginia driver's license. It has a star in the upper right corner and requires proof of lawful status.
They didn't ask me for any ID. I was telling the officer if I can give him the ID, but he said that just keep my hands up, not moving. And then after that, he told me to get out of the car, and then he put the handcuffs on me. And then he went to me and said, how did I get into this country? And if I was waiting for court or if I have any case. And I told him I was an American citizen. And he looked at his other partner like, smiling, like saying, can you believe this guy? Because he asked the other guy, do you believe him?
Machado said he was uncuffed and immediately released after showing his driver's license. The two men with him were taken into custody. He does not know why. The incident has caused him to reflect.
Definitely, because like I say, I was Trump supporter. I voted for Trump last elections, but because I thought it was going to be the things, like be pointless. Like, just go against criminals. Not every illegal Hispanic looking like that. They will assume we are illegals. You know.
So, do you think that's what they're doing now?
That's what they're doing now. They're just following Hispanic people looking like.
Immigration lawyer.
Do you have any sympathy for that guy, by the way? He voted for Trump. He even had a Trump bumper sticker on the back of his truck. So this is what we're talking about, though. It doesn't sound like they had any legitimate reason to stop this guy other than they thought his address or something like that. They didn't. I mean, there are ways to find out.
Bad information. Did you not listen to the same clip I did? They were given bad information.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. When you don't actually do any checks and balances to make sure, I mean, just bad information. Just fuck somebody's day up with bad information.
Here's the thing. Do I find it a little suspicious that they rolled up on him like that when there was probably more ways of verifying it, like maybe looking at the address and then being like, okay, so who lives here? Oh, isn't this guy legal? Is this guy legal in the United States? Doesn't he have the right to be here? I can definitely say there does seem to be some kind of breakdown of how this should be done. And here's the thing. He can sue. He can definitely sue. But what did they say at the end? Oh, he was uncuffed and released after being detained? Wow.
Yeah. After them jumping out with guns and shit like that, I mean, do we care about his welfare? You realize how that might make him feel?
Listen, I'm not saying it's great, but I've been detained plenty of times.
I don't know if you're making the story sound better by saying nothing like that.
And you want to know what happens? I just say, okay, cool, officer, nice. Thank you for your time, and I'm released, and then nothing happens.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for not killing me, good officer. Is that what you're trying to tell me? You say?
All they do, they don't even point guns at me. They just. I've been pulled over. I've been stopped in the middle of a grocery store, or because they actually, if I fit the profile of someone else who committed a robbery at a grocery store. And suddenly, like, I got released. They were like, "Oh no, you're not that guy."
You make for it.
What are they supposed to do? Stop arresting people because like they don't want to be called racist because they just have.
Well, like the guy said in the video, Trump ran on going after rapists and murderers. If he actually did what he campaigned on, stuff like what we're talking about wouldn't be happening. They're going after everybody. That kind of stuff, but like what this guy just went through, that stuff wouldn't be happening to people.
That was his opinion. I don't give much credence to that. He just was like, they're going after the.
No. But you don't think so? You think that's just his opinion? You don't think that the Trump administration is going after everybody?
No, that's stupid. That's so stupid on so many levels. That's gangster grandma levels of stupid.
They're admitting it. Jeremy, Tom Homan has admitted it. If you're in the country illegally, you got to go. They're going after everybody that's here undocumented, even the people.
Oh, I thought you were saying like they were going after documented people. No, if you're here illegally, fuck you, bye.
No. But what I'm saying is, if you got an asylum case under Biden, you are here illegally. Trump came in, made you now become a fugitive. You were not an illegal immigrant until Trump got elected, changed the law, and made you into a fugitive. Them people are going through the same thing as this guy.
Listen, I personally, I don't feel much sympathy. Most of these.
I believe that. I do believe that.
I know, right? You're right.
Yeah.
I will say this. I feel very, very little sympathy for people who knowingly cross the border illegally, and especially when they have children and they bring them over too. You could have stayed in your country and not traumatized your kids. Great job, fuckhead.
You realize that if they stayed in their country, their kids may have been traumatized the whole time?
Traumatized the whole time? And how?
Cartel, poverty, crime. I mean, you do realize that, right?
Your fucking countries, for God's sake. I am so sick of the United States being like the poorhouse for everybody. It has to always be everyone and fixer-upper every time. Why is it never the responsibility? Why are Mexicans never angry that Mexico sucks? It sucks over there.
You do.
No. I'm gonna let you have this one. Okay?
Let me have it.
Okay? I'm gonna straight up say it. Mexico and Mexicans, listen up. Get your shit together. I'm tired of you making all of your problems everyone else's problem. What is wrong with you people? Why can't you just say, hey, we have all these problems. Maybe we should do something about them, and maybe we should be angry that our leaders sold us out onto the highest bidder.
Now let me
Take some fucking responsibility.
Now let me put on my Mexican hat and give you some of that fucking responsibility that you're seeking. Maybe if your goddamn citizens were not sending arms to the cartel and buying so much fucking narcotics, we wouldn't have these problems. Because the people that are ruining our country are only doing it with the blessing of you fucking Yankees that are buying their drugs, demanding that they send chicks for you to exploit and labor. It is without your country, we wouldn't be dealing with half of these problems. You ever thought of that?
These people who sell the guns to them, they're doing it illegally under the table. None of this is allowed.
None of this would be happening. The cartel would not have the guns that they have without the United States. They would not have the money from the drug exports without all of the demand for their product in the United States. Even the children they're trafficking are being used by mostly Americans. You ever thought about any of that?
I'm not saying that that's ever right. But
now we change
No,
up.
hold on a minute. It's the same party that's always saying decriminalize this, decriminalize that. Maybe we should criminalize it more to trafficking drugs, okay? The DEA exists for a reason, Tim. We're not just letting
I'm going to tell you exactly what you just told me. In regards to us having to deal with the cartel and all the dangers they're posing throughout Mexico, America, fix your fucking country. Because we wouldn't have this problem if it wasn't for you.
No, you know what? I don't disagree that we should fix our fucking country.
All right.
I'm saying we're the only ones who were ever burdened with this. You tell Mexico to do it, you'll get as much heat as you just gave me, okay? You know, maybe, just maybe that border wall would do a lot of good work for a lot of people, okay? Because then less Americans would have access to those drugs that are feeding those cartels.
You believe that?
All the money.
You believe that? When you think about the billions of, Trump just invited cartel. When you look at how many billions of dollars the cartel is making, you really think that fucking wall gonna stop them with the huge demand for what they're selling in America? You don't think there's politicians, ICE, and Border Patrol that turn the other way to make a huge profit by letting that shit come through? The border wall is for people like you just seen in that video. But when people got billions of dollars, that border wall ain't gonna do shit. They're gonna be invited in.
Nah. Here's where you're wrong. Okay, so first off, unlike a cop, a border wall can't accept a bribe.
They're not coming across the wall, Jeremy. They're coming through ports of entry. A border patrol can turn his back on a truck full of schmack coming through for a small fee. That's where most of the bad shit is coming through the ports of entry. They're not climbing walls.
Dude, they're coming. The border is porous. Okay, that's where they're coming.
Okay.
The border as a whole is a porous. There's open-ended, an open air or drug trafficking location. That's what it is. Yeah. But if you only had it at the ports of entry, that would bottleneck a lot of what they're doing. Here's the thing, Tim. Here's something you got to know about technology. Well, there is no such thing as a computer that can't be hacked. There's no such thing as a security system that can't be overrated. You want to know something? We still build security systems around them. We still do all this stuff because it makes it so that way it's not easy. Okay, it makes it so that.
So you would agree there's no such thing as a wall that can't be negotiated?
That I would say can't be outsmart, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we still build the walls. That's why it's the reason there's no bank that can't be robbed. We still stop bank robberies.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I really believe that the wall, for the most part, is going to stop folks who are just trying to come in this country illegally to work. The people who are making real money selling drugs and stuff like that over here, they got connections. They're not running across the Rio Grande with a backpack on them. These are people that are going to get in because there's just too many Americans, officials, people in charge that make money by letting them get in. Just like in the hood where I'm from, on the south side of Chicago, it ain't like the cops don't know where the drug house is in the neighborhood. The reason that drug house continues to exist, they got cops on the payroll. None of this stuff would happen if the people in power actually collectively did what you're saying, fix your fucking country. The people in power in this country are making money off this stuff. I just don't see what you're saying doing anything. But and also too, there's a reason why you notice the Trump administration is going after the immigrants, going to work sites, and you don't see many employers getting arrested. You don't see much of that at all. All you're doing is seeing the immigrant. What about all the people that were hiring them? You're at a job site. You don't have any employer at all coming out of here? You don't see that happening?
I think those employers, I think the employers should also go to jail too.
Yeah. Well, like I said, there's way too many American conspirators for this problem to go away the way you're saying. But Jeremy, I do got to move it on. Good spirited conversation. You know we always do it. Appreciate you coming through.
Anyway, see you around.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on with the program. By the way, we don't block, ban, or censor. That should be another testimony to that. By the way, tap the screen too. Get the likes on up to about 50,000. A lot of lazy thumbs in here. Send Jeremy to jail, says Freedom. Freedom Fighter says send Jeremy to jail. Damn. Wow, what fairy tale book did you read that from? I didn't know what the comment was. Actually, they are coming from the Canadian border now. I don't care where they're coming from. If they're coming and they're talking about lucrative opportunities where people can make tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars, they're not going to have any shortage of Americans that are going to help them get over here. And building a wall ain't going to stop it because people that built the wall want to make money too. It's just the way it is. I mean, corruption is corruption. Let me go back to the box. Gangsta Grandma, good evening. Welcome to the program. I'm assuming I'm not fluffing today, right?
No, you're a whole bitch. That's
A whole bitch. What about?
Yeah,
What am I getting wrong?
you get everything wrong. You let the Triple K talk shit. Jeremy went on a crash out.
What?
Jeremy went crashing out, right? Did he not?
He had an opinion.
No, that's not an opinion. He crashed out.
How did he crash out?
Well, what do you mean how he crashed out? He told you he crashed. He was right there in front of you.
Are you agreeing with Mike? And if Mike says white people take very little ownership, is that what you're trying to tell me? I think she may be at the grocery store. Gangsta Grandma, I'll move it on if she's busy. He crashed out. AE said he also crashed out. You breaking him down. Okay. Gangsta Grandma needs to record a rap album. Okay. Did you hear the deputy mayor of California calling all Mexican members to help protest? They should. Listen, if you're being stopped just for being brown, you know, it's one of those things, just like Jeremy said, fix your fucking country, but he was using it in reference to countries that are south of the border. If you know people that look like you in your country are being wrongfully stopped just because of the color of their skin or their nationality, yeah, they need to have a protest where all Hispanics, period, because they're all victims of this at this point. I know the Cubanos and the Venezuelans typically vote for Trump because they fled communist governments and things like that. They didn't come to America expecting this shit. So at this point, the Hispanic community, doesn't matter where you're from, Guatemala, Nicaragua, I don't care if you're from Brazil, they all should come together and protest in unison. Because to the people that are wearing masks that are stopping them, they all look alike. They're not stopping you thinking that's a Venezuelan or let's go get this guy from Honduras. You all look alike to them. So yeah, they should protest. I mean, shit, they're being hunted. They literally have been hunted at this point. They're walking up in their neighborhoods wearing masks and shit like that. They're being hunted. They should protest. What are you gonna sit there and watch your neighbor, the guy across the street, and you don't think eventually it may happen to you? You're just on your way to work. I don't care if you're a citizen. You still can be stopped. You still can be detained. You still can be held. You still can have a rifle pointed at your head. It doesn't matter that you're here legally. You don't even know who the hell's holding the gun. He has a mask on. So yeah, I think it would be in their best interest, definitely, to speak up based on what's happening. But before I go to the next caller, Ms. Mobetta, thank you. Here's another one. This one we talked about last time.
Truck was arrested. Citizen putting himself through graduate school by driving a delivery truck was arrested early Thursday morning outside a Home Depot. It happened here in Hollywood. The man showed up for work to find ICE agents raiding the parking lot.
That's when Hope Garcia started filming. Mary Beth McDade live at the Hollywood Home Depot with details and reaction from Garcia. Mary Beth.
Yes, Mike and Jerry says 1 minute he was yelling at federal agents, telling them what they were doing wasn't right. And then the next thing that he knew, he was being tackled to the ground and detained. A half dozen federal agents can be seen detaining someone at an immigration enforcement raid at a Hollywood Home Depot.
Now look at that. You got 6 people on one dude. You got one guy standing watch with what looks like it is a long rifle. I'm not even going to pretend like I know probably an AR or something like that. But he's sitting there standing guard, and he's not the only one. There's another one that's outside of the image. But it's we're talking over a half a dozen of them all armed, and they need to wear masks for their safety. I mean, they got plenty of firepower. Ain't nobody about to fuck with that. They got plenty of firepower. If you mess with one of them, you got all kinds of rounds coming back in your direction. They're the ones that need to wear masks.
At the bottom of that pile, 37-year-old Hope Garcia, a U.S. citizen. Garcia says while being suppressed by agents' hands and knees, all he could think of was George Floyd.
I was like, and for a brief moment I was like, if this is it for me, like, I know exactly how George Floyd felt.
Garcia says he's currently studying to get his PhD at Claremont Graduate University, but on the side, works as a Home Depot delivery man. He tells us he had gone to pick up his delivery items Thursday morning when chaos erupted in the parking lot. Armed agents began detaining people. He says he began recording the incident and telling people their rights.
They started gathering around a van with the gentleman inside. He was probably roughly in his 50s or 60s.
He turned his camera on the agents who were asking the man to get out of the truck, and then they used a baton to smash the man's windows.
The second time they broke his and then that's when everybody who was recording, the bystanders.
I'm not going to play the whole clip, but he was filming the police. He's an American citizen, and him simply filming the police led for ICE, immigration officials, just simply filming them led them to come and fuck with him too. He ain't doing nothing wrong. It's 100% legal to film law enforcement in public. Doing nothing wrong. And you see him under that pile of nearly a half a dozen immigration officials. So anyway, looking in the comments here, it's a short barrel, not a long barrel. Okay, all right. The border wall is not quite secure from trays of eggs passing through. I don't know what that means, but I will continue on. Dincal, good evening. Welcome to the program. I heard raw milk is coming across the border too. They love breaking car windows, yeah? They got full authority. Dincal, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Did you hear Jeremy tearing me a new one?
Man, Jeremy don't know what the fuck he talking about, man.
Well,
Jeremy, you shot his whole argument down with about three bullet points, and he was like, "Yeah, I guess, yeah." Come on, man.
Yeah.
He tried to really do that. He been listening to propaganda about Hispanic people, and all he could figure out was to say, "You Mexicans, get your shit together."
He sounds like a 70-year-old Karen, huh? I mean, the thing about it is, if you do listen to American propaganda, particularly on the right, yeah, it's one of those cases of our shit don't stink. So we're going to talk about them coming to our country. But we don't talk about any of the problems that we've bestowed upon their country for quite a while. They don't cover that. So it's just like, for no reason at all, they just all decided to come to America. Their country just is in shambles for no reason at all. Why won't they fix it? And he's not considering the burden America has placed on their country.
Right, and look, I just want to clear one thing up for people, and I see Jeremy's in the thing, so he's listening. Jeremy, the cartels do not deliver tons and tons of product across the border by using human mules.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. I mean, I've been on about 3 narcotic interdiction operations down by South America and Mexico on like 6-month cruises, where that's all we do is intercept. I'm talking about go fast boats, helicopters. They even got submarines.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
They deliver that stuff. They don't give a shit about no damn wall. They don't care about none of that stuff. The demand is here in America, and they gonna get it to us.
Yeah. Even aircraft and everything. I mean, you seen what was the movie with Tom Cruise, American Made or something? I mean, even aircraft are used in this shit. I mean, if you got that kind of money, that kind of customer base, yeah, I agree. They're going to find ways to get that in the country.
Right, and look, one time we was, I think, maybe the first or the second ship to catch a shipment of liquefied, Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
Liquefied. First time in like history, we caught. It was a ship. It wasn't a ship. It was a mid-sized craft, but they had liquefied it and put it in their spare fuel tanks.
Wow. So it was among the fuel.
Yeah. It wasn't among fuel. They have their fuel tanks are separated in.
Okay. So one tank was filled with liquefied Coke.
Yes.
Damn.
So all of that, he's thinking that all of the drugs is coming into America because there's a guy with a backpack on. Like, yeah. I mean, when we caught, it was like, we've caught, like, we've brought back like loads of, 150 tons, and that's just us. We just one ship that's down there constantly in South America trying to stop this stuff. And guess what? Ain't not one crackhead mixed their daily fix.
Like I said, this is the American propaganda where, people really think Trump's border wall, we're going to stop fentanyl, we're going to, you realize how... No, it ain't. I mean, because think about it. Trump's been in office now 5 months. Is there anybody in the hood talking about they having a hard time getting product? That stuff is... I mean, let's go with his first term, since he's only been in office for 5 months. Take the whole 4 years of his first term. Was there any droughts on product? I mean, if you wanted to get high, you could get high.
Folks was getting it in.
Yeah.
It didn't slow nothing down. I'm talking about you could go on YouTube or you could go on Google and type in and show people, climbing over the wall. I'm talking about guys know how to scale it with their hands and feet. Yeah. They show guys sitting on the top of the wall, waving at the camera and stuff like that's not gonna stop anything. I would even tell you among your folks, by you being military, there have been military folks that have turned the other way and helped that shit come in. I mean, there are. That's what Frank Lucas back in the day, he had a buddy in the military.
Yeah.
That was in charge of a flight crew, and that was bringing it back and forth.
Yeah.
Without nobody, no dogs to check them or nothing, because there was it's plenty of ways. I can sit here and describe all the different ways they do it, but that's beside the point. Like that building a wall shit, it was just gonna be there for optics.
Yeah.
For optics. It was going to cost billions of dollars.
Well, wait a minute though. The wall. I will say the wall will have success. It like the guy I just showed, the stuff I just showed you about people hanging outside of Home Depot. The wall will stop them. People who just came here to work and they did run across the highway in the desert. It's stopping them kind of people. But they're not rapists and murderers. They're not gang members.
No, because the cartels are the one who give them free access. So the cartels are the ones that dig the tunnels. The ones that dig the tunnels underneath the wall. So they're the ones who are going to be given access, and that you've always had to pay the
coyotes, like the coyotes,
for free entry. So it's not. Yeah, that's not really a thing. It's not. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but that's not really stopping nothing.
My guess is, just like you heard a couple of weeks ago where Trump was rethinking his immigration policy, stating that he had been hearing from hotel and farm owners saying we were deporting a lot of good people and you couldn't replace them. It wouldn't surprise me if privately members of the Trump administration might be hearing from folks that are involved in the drug game that supported. Look, you getting rid of good, you're closing off good routes. Even at that level, I would see that they may find ways to get him to rethink his strategy. Like you cutting off product; these are donors.
Right. Even the people, there was the Republicans that was supporting that E-Verify, right?
Yeah.
Remember, they was like, the people that come over to do it the right way,
right.
They go through E-Verify. They was showing one of the business owners, he was about to cry. He was like, look, I did it the right way.
He had 100.
Folks done figured out how to infiltrate E-Verify.
I think that everybody thinks that dude was lying. That was in Nebraska at that plant. He had like 100 immigrants illegally working.
Oh, okay.
Look, if you working at a plant, I mean, if you got a job site, you're the employer, and you are a perfect English-speaking white man, and all your employees can barely speak the fucking language and shit like that, you know what you hiring. I mean, it ain't by coincidence that you're in Nebraska and all of your employees are Hispanic. That didn't happen by coincidence. Like, you a white dude.
I'm just saying, like, he was on television saying that he used the E-Verify system. So maybe he knew somebody that gave him the hookup to make it. Like, I know that in Detroit they got what they call one-time insurance. Like, it ain't really insurance, but you can present it one time to the police.
Wow.
And they gonna tell you it's fake, but they can't prove that you knew it was fake when you bought it. So they call it one-time insurance. So maybe he bought maybe he got the one-time E-Verify. It'll get you out of one time. But that's it.
I mean, maybe, but like I said, you a white dude. He's a older white guy. I mean, I seen the video of him in his car being questioned about it. And you thought all of these people, huh? They're all legal. They just Hispanics you just got Hispanics are eager to come work for you, huh? Like, ain't nobody in here but Hispanics. You barely can even get any of these folks to talk English. They just want to come work for you, huh? That makes sense. I mean, he knew. I really believe he knew.
And not Jeremy talking about look up the employer too. No, that's not what we do. We don't look at the employer.
Yeah.
We keep glossing over that. When you want to defeat a problem, if you're gonna be a problem solver, you gotta look at root cause. You can't just look at the surface and just say this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get rid of this, or we're gonna build a wall, or we're gonna put in these measures. If you don't look, the root cause of all of the immigration is because we got jobs here. We got the demand for their labor.
Let me ask you this though. In the comments, Zach Bill, we were talking about bringing in product. He says they fly it in. All airports do not have customs. Can you come in this country on an international flight and land at an airport like that? No customs?
They don't use international flights. They use city airports. They use the small airports where you don't. If you own your own airplane, you can fly all around the damn country without going through customs or anything.
Yeah, but can you fly across an international border and land at a small airport in Nevada somewhere?
Yes, you can fly you can fly your plane wherever you want to. I mean, as long as you got the proper documentation. You can fly to South America and to a small. They got airfields. They're not necessarily as strict as we are.
And no customs. So if I wanted to take off from Miami and fly into Nassau, Bahamas, or because that's a short distance, just about a Cessna could do that. You're telling me there would be no customs? You could just land and.
If you knew some cartel people that had a private landing strip wherever they at, yeah, you could do it.
But what about coming back? Could you land somewhere in Florida like that?
Yeah, they go to your local city airport and just look. Those are planes by individual people that fly in and out. They go park it in their parking space. They get out with their bags and they get in the car and leave.
Oh shit!
There's nobody sitting at city airports checking everybody who flies their own individual planes.
I mean, it seems like if you got folks that are able to fly from DR or some country and they can just land in Florida or southern Mississippi, so it seems like you would expect this is where you're gonna have product coming in. I mean, that's a pretty easy route if that's the case. Then
Well, I mean, it would be hard for us to know now since once Trump came in, they moved all of those DEA and FBI agents into the immigration. All of those cases that they were pursuing, guess what? Those people are now out there, what you just seen, tracking down Hispanic guys, on the street.
Is it possible that, the way this, because most pilots are white. Let's just be clear. Most pilots in this country are white men. Do we just simply trust that white men are going to do the right thing and the brown people climbing across the border are doing the wrong thing? Because it seemed like they would have more checks and balances on international flights, because that is an easy way to bring in a ton of product. Do you just trust that the pilots ain't going to do it?
Who's gonna develop the laws and the apparatus to apprehend these people? Anybody with a damn plane are wealthy people.
Yeah, but they're tracking you on radar. So you got a small aircraft that is, you could be Bin Laden, for God's sake. You're just gonna let this small aircraft come. Trump is talking about we need to vet every damn body. How do you know they ain't on the airplane?
Radars don't track people under a certain level, a certain height. So you can fly under the radar. Hell, they could know who you are. But if they have no probable cause or nothing, why would they stop you?
So
you saying that they should profile them? They should profile them rich.
That's what I said. We're just going to trust that. We're going to trust that the wealthy pilot ain't on the take, and that the poor immigrant is the one you got to worry about. But the pilot can bring over, he could be the only guy on the plane, and every seat could be loaded with smack.
Look, I agree with you, but our justice system in America is designed for them to take this agent, this DEA agent that's making $100,000 a year to go track down Juju now on the corner and take his little sack from him. But not John with the airplane who's moving 2 tons a week.
Right. So just based on our conversation, this should make it clear this ain't gonna stop drugs from coming in this country. We're talking about a way of literally bringing pounds in by aircraft. You don't think at least one pilot is gonna be on the take? Just like I mentioned the Tom Cruise movie, somebody mentioned Blow as well, but just one bad pilot could bring a whole lot of product if he's going back and forth. You don't need but one dude. He can supply a whole town with shit.
Yeah, a whole city. We ain't talking about pounds. We talking about tons.
Yeah.
We talking about the tonnage. So, people don't necessarily have access to that kind of information. So they looking at it at a granular level, thinking if we stopped them from coming across the border, then that would stop the drugs from coming. Do you know how many mules you would have to hire to carry a backpack on their back of 80 pounds? That's ridiculous.
So at the end of the day, it's safe to assume we ain't gonna have no trouble getting high.
No. That the fentanyl, that's gonna be available as long as as long as we got the first of them. As long as we got all that government money going out on the first of the month, there's gonna always be another supply.
Yeah. Last but not least, before I move it on from you see the photo, but the Iranian mission there? Trump says that we obliterated the Iranian facilities over there. You got folks suggesting that our intelligence agencies are saying you only set it back a few months at best. Who do you think is correct in this?
The people who was quaking in their boots, but they had to do their job and put out that memo saying they set them back by a couple of months. Because nobody wants to go against Trump's word.
Right.
But when you're putting stuff in official documents out there for the global consumption, you could try to clean it up like Tulsi Gabbard. Actually, what I said was the exact same thing as what
she looked really bad. We heard what you said. You were pretty clear what you said before Congress or whatever when you testified that they're not trying to. It was pretty clear. Now all of a sudden, because Trump said something different, you're backtracking. So I think it is what you're saying, that they're just afraid.
Now we've got the early reports from the IAEA, the Israelis, and everybody is saying the same thing. And matter of fact, I seen it was one congressperson. I think she's on either the Intel committee or the Foreign Relations committee. She said that they got photographs, satellite photos
The trucks.
of a caravan
Yep.
leaving the place. And the guy said, Trump got on air and said they can't move that stuff that fast. And then the other guy, who's the professional, got up there and he said, look, they could move that shit with about 10 carloads.
Yeah. Now, you know, me and you talked about this because I asked you how likely would it be that Trump was going to attack Iran. You didn't think it was going to happen.
I did not think he was going to go through with it. I underestimated the power of Netanyahu.
Yeah.
On Trump.
I told you. I mean, they got 3 aircraft. I think I told you they got 3 aircraft carriers in the region now, and I mean they were moving assets. I'm like, I can't imagine it not happening at this point. And apparently the Iranians agree with me.
Right, and people have no idea about the amount of money the military spent to make that happen. We're looking at we're looking at, okay, they used this many this and that many that. Do you know that they moved almost a whole battle group across the Pacific Ocean to make a decoy so that they could come from the east? And I'm talking about all of these B-2 bombers, all of these F-35s, carrier groups. Man, people don't understand how, like, a carrier, it costs $1 million a day to operate. That's just on a regular day.
Yeah, I heard they said the B-2 costs $65,000 when it's flying. $65,000 an hour.
Right, and we use Tomahawk missiles. We use Tomahawk missiles, and some of them, depending on the armament, could be up to $1 million a piece. I'm talking about we use a whole hell of a lot of assets to do what we did. And we, just like when they said that the Iranians sent message to the Qataris that they was about to bomb them.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, well, why would you do that? Because it's all fucking theater.
Yeah.
Trump told them, whether it was through back channels or not, that we was about to bomb Iran.
Yeah, just like when Russia was about to attack the Ukrainians and the Biden administration, because Zelensky didn't believe it. Our intel, we were telling Zelensky like, this is not, because the Russians were trying to say it was something like a training op or something like that, and we were telling them like they're moving medics up. You don't move medics to the front line. So
when people start moving blood, specifically blood, you know it's on.
Yeah, they expect motherfuckers to get shot. Yeah, and that's the thing I'm saying is that that's why I had the same mindset on America going into Iran. When you start moving that much stuff, I don't, you can't claim you're trying to find waste, fraud, and abuse while unnecessarily moving aircraft carriers and, as you say, a whole battle group. You about to do something with that.
Yeah, all of the signs were there. I don't know, because I had stopped watching like mainstream news, so I wasn't getting all of that information about everything that they was moving until when we kind of conversed, I was thinking like, yeah, he's not about to go over there and I was saying that because he was the one who was saying he was the peace guy. He was the one. I was going off of his word that he was the guy that that no new wars, no conflicts under his watch. So that kind of caught me off.
Not to sound like the old 80s TV commercial, but just from in the future, you learned about watching me, Dan. You learned about, the guy, he asked his dad, who taught you how to do this stuff? You learned about watching you, Dad. You learned about watching me. Then I try to move it on. Appreciate you coming through.
All right, take care.
All right, I learned about watching you, Dad. How many of you folks, you gotta be Gen X to know what that commercial even is. How many of you folks have seen that commercial? I learned about watching you, Dad. Parents who use drugs have kids who use drugs. All right, looking in the comments here real quick. Hater channel, says Robert Kennedy. Who are we hating? He says the hater channel. I never knew what a liberal was till I subscribed. Shout out to you, Joe Blow. Appreciate that. See, that's how we come together like that. I appreciate that. Thank you for your sub. By the way, if you guys enjoy this type of dialogue, you don't have to agree, you don't have to disagree, but damn it, you get the right to speak. We're all about free speech here. So if you enjoy this type of dialogue, give your boy a sub if you're watching on any of the YouTube platforms right now. If you're watching me on TikTok or Instagram, a follow would be appreciated. Thank you. We're here generally on the weekdays. I think the attack on Iran's nuclear facilities has only increased their resolve to fulfill their nuclear ambitions. Mr. Sloth, I could not agree anymore with you. That is a home run. Listen, I think North Korea, if there is any country, North Korea is a perfect example. They have shown the world that it doesn't matter how pissed off the West gets, particularly America, as long as you have an atomic arsenal, America won't fuck with you. If Kim Jong-un did not have nuclear weapons, we would have long since been in that country. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. It certainly should increase Iran's desire to obtain nuclear weapons because they're being bullied by the United States. If all of a sudden we get rid of the Iranians' nuclear ambitions, and they bow down to us on that, we're gonna be kind of like a bully to them. You know what? They always say don't give in to a bully because they're only going to come back for something else. If they listen to us and let Trump bully them, next it'll be we don't like who you're selling oil to, or we don't like who you're trading with. Either you stop trading with them, or you're going to risk. We're going to keep coming back. So it is in their best interest, and I'm not defending Iran by any means at all, but if they do not get their hands on any type of atomic weapons, they're going to be dealing with America indefinitely, and the West and Israel and all. I mean, we're going to keep coming back and back and back and keeping them under our thumb. But if they become an atomic country or a nuclear country, suddenly they get all sorts of powers that they don't have right now. So, yeah, it's probably in their best interest to develop a nuclear weapon. And I always bring up this whole notion that, an armed society is a polite society. If you believe that, why don't you believe that if every country on earth had a nuclear weapon, the planet would be safer? You believe if everybody had a gun, we would all be polite to each other? But if every country has a weapon, it doesn't work? Explain that. If they use nukes, then it will get the same response from someone else. I believe in mutually assured destruction. What do they call it? MAD. You used to have that between America and the Soviet Union. I don't believe if Iran got their hands on a nuclear weapon, they're going to go around and use it. I don't believe that. They know that once they do that, that's kind of the end. Just like Kim Jong-un talks a lot of shit, but he doesn't fire off nuclear weapons. He knows if he uses that, that's going to be the end. It's just a good item to have in your arsenal so people don't fuck with you. So my guess is if Iran did that, they would see their lives on the world stage become a lot better. I think there's a difference between having a gun and a nuclear missile. 100% true, handsome conservative. I agree with you 100%. But the logic is the same. You're saying that if the average individual could defend themselves, people are not going to mess with them. But if the average country can defend themselves, you suddenly don't believe it anymore. That doesn't make sense. Okay, obviously, a country is going to need more than a simple rifle in today's technology. So you step it up to what people have, which are atomic weapons. And I'll tell you one thing, one country that would not benefit from everybody having nuclear weapons is America. It would be probably us, because we do play the world's police. We've been constantly in wars and conflicts since World War II. Most other nations on earth can't say that. If every nation had a nuclear weapon, we wouldn't have won into Panama. We probably would not have been fucking around in Vietnam. I mean, I'm assuming Korea did not have one back during the Korean War. If everybody we've dealt with over the years, where was Black Hawk Down in Somalia or wherever? If every one of these countries had atomic weapons, most of those conflicts would not have involved the United States. We would have not been over there. You hear Trump right now taking credit for ending the Kosovo-Serbian war, which ended in 1999. I don't know how he believes he ended a war that was over a generation before he became president. But he's bringing that wouldn't have taken place. All of that stuff would not have happened if those countries had nuclear weapons. We would not have been over there messing with them people. Real quick, looking in the comments. So an armed society is a polite society. It either is or it isn't. That's my point. Now, as a person who leans left, I don't tend to believe in armed society as a polite society, because most of the cities that have very liberal gun laws where you can easily get your hands on a gun, they're violent as hell. I don't see people bragging about the reduced crime rate in Houston or how safe it is to walk down the streets in Dallas. St. Louis is the murder capital of the world. Ain't nobody preventing you from getting a gun in St. Louis or Memphis. Ain't no politeness in that fucking town. Poverty, diversity, all of those things take place. That's what has something to do with crime. Safest places, for the most part, are places where the people are not impoverished and there's no diversity. Middle class, wealthy white neighborhoods. That's where the safety is. Now, if you're in a middle class or an upper level black neighborhood, there's a few of those now, it tends to be pretty safe too. But yeah, you get rid of the diversity, there's not as much to argue about. You get rid of the poverty, ain't nobody broke where they need to steal shit to come up. You reduce the crime rate substantially. Then you start having shit like domestic violence and all that. Anyway, looking in the comments, but wouldn't the world be a more peaceful place if everyone had one? Just like everyone can get a gun in the USA. I'm just simply saying you either go with the slogan or you don't. You either go with the slogan or you don't. Israel has nukes, but they have been invaded. Israel, Israel fought Egypt in the late 70s. You talk Hamas, the countries that Israel has dealt with, like Hamas, I mean, you're not going to use a nuke on Hamas. I mean, what are you going to do, blow up Gaza with a nuke? You don't think any of that's going to come back on Israel? I mean, think about what you're saying. Let me go back to the box. I don't know what I just hit there, but continuing on, a Master's Love. Good evening. Welcome to the program, Master Love. The majority of Memphis is fine and uneventful. Yeah, but there's a lot of... Memphis has been the murder capital in recent... You know, people talk about Chicago. Chicago actually, per capita, doesn't have anywhere near the murder rate of some of the other cities they don't want to talk about because those cities are in red states. Jacksonville, Florida, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Memphis, St. Louis. Them towns actually have a higher murder rate per capita than Chicago. But Chicago is a sea of liberalism, can be tied to Obama, tough gun laws, has a history of tough gun laws, a Democratic governor. It's just blue on blue on blue. So it makes for a good whipping boy. Where you can't do that against St. Louis because it's in a red state. There's no tough gun laws, but yeah, St. Louis gets busy. St. Louis gets busy. Been around Memphis all my life. Shout out to you and the former crew of the First 48, which is why they... It's interesting you would say that. That's the reason they got the First 48 out of Memphis, because they claimed it was making the city look bad. Everything's inverted, Isaac. I don't know how to switch YouTube around, so everything's inverted. They know the repercussions if they drop a bomb like that. I feel Trump would turn his back on them if they moved in that direction. Yeah, I believe in mutually assured destruction. I don't believe that if Iran got their hands on a nuclear weapon, they're going to go and drop it. I think people in the region, like Israel, want to have their thumb on Iran, and they don't want, just like Iraq. I mean, you do realize that Benjamin Netanyahu was just as gung-ho about us going into Iraq as he is about Iran. I mean, that guy just, like somebody said on the program earlier, he just wants America, his big brother, to do his bidding. And we've been doing it.
Iran has never given up its quest for nuclear weapons and the missiles to deliver them.
That's because Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been saying this for more than 30 years, claiming Iran is close to having
nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons, nuclear weapons, atomic bombs.
In 1992, as a member of parliament, Netanyahu addresses the Knesset. He says, within 3 to 5 years, we can assume that Iran will become autonomous in its ability to develop and produce a nuclear bomb. 3 years later, in his book Fighting Terrorism, he repeats the same time frame, 3 to 5 years. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fast forward to 2002. Netanyahu testifies before a U.S. congressional committee actively calling for the invasion of Iraq.
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon at this point?
The two nations that are vying, competing with each other, who will be the first to achieve nuclear weapons, is Iraq and Iran.
The invasion happens months later. No weapons of mass destruction are found in Iraq. This is a fragment of a 2009 U.S. State Department cable released by WikiLeaks. Netanyahu tells members of Congress that Iran is 1 or 2 years away from being capable of developing nuclear weapons.
They're online.
It's 2012, and Netanyahu is holding up his infamous cartoon bomb at the UN General Assembly.
By next spring, at most by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
And now, 33 years after Netanyahu's first so-called imminent warning, Israel attacks Iran.
And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
That's despite the U.S. Director of National Intelligence saying Iran isn't building a nuclear weapon months earlier.
Iran lied.
But for Netanyahu,
Big time.
the slogan has been the same for decades. Dmitry Medvedenko, Al Jazeera.
You realize how embarrassing that makes Trump? Trump obviously hasn't seen this montage. Somebody within his administration, because there's a lot of Republicans that did not want us to go to war, somebody should have sent him a clip like this. Like, sir, before you do this, I think you should see this. Because this is where he still appears to be getting most of his information from. He's not taking a word of our intelligence agencies, even in regards to how successful the attack was in Iran. He's listening to this dude who has a history of dishonesty, or at least inaccuracy, if I don't want to say he's been dishonest, and it's hard to imagine he's being wrong this many times without some of it being deliberate, but let's say he's not dishonest. He's at least inaccurate over and over and over. 30 years. You got people who may have been involved in the attack on Iran this weekend that were not even born the first time he was talking about this was going to happen. 30-some years he's been saying that. Wow. Trump, obviously, this is what happens when you don't do some history. There's no way I believe Trump realizes this guy has been saying this for 30 years. Trump told Jeb Bush that his brother, George W. Bush, his attack on Iraq was the dumbest mistake in U.S. history. That's what Trump said during the 2016 election. And here we are, 9 years later, and now Trump is involved in this shit. And it doesn't even sound like it was successful. And once again, he's going with what Netanyahu's intelligence is saying and not ours. AG says if Iran knows Israel has nukes and still has attacked them, why would Iran think somehow, if they're not afraid to attack? When has Iran officially attacked Israel? You said if Iran knows Israel has nukes and still has attacked them, why would Iran think somehow, if they're not afraid to attack nuke-armed countries, at this point, Iran was not attacking Israel. They were defending themselves. I mean, Israel was actively bombing their cities and shit. I mean, they have a choice. I'm saying that if Iran developed a nuclear weapon, they're not going to go on an offensive attack using nuclear weapons against another country. But if the country is already blowing up shit in Europe, you don't have a choice at that point. I mean, Israel was actively attacking Iran when they started shooting back. They were getting hit. Israel was the one that started that war. It's not Iran. And I agree with you, what you're saying there, Pleasant Gift and Isaac. You know, Iran was defending themselves. They were hit. Netanyahu just feels like he's empowered under Trump. Like, Trump is, now they said that you see Netanyahu 30 some odd years saying this. out of the 30 years, who's been going back to 92? So you're talking the end of George H.W. Bush. Bill Clinton was president from 92 to 2000. And then Bush, 2000 to 2008, Obama, 2008, 2016. Then you had Trump and Biden. Out of that crew, Trump is probably the most friendliest president to Israel by far. All of those other people, while letting Israel do stuff, they were not going to be as cooperative with what Israel is doing as Trump is. So Netanyahu knows he has Trump's blessing. That's why we're dealing with this stuff. So we'll see. But anyway, moving on to the next caller. I don't know what I'm hitting here, but let me go on to the next caller here. Looking in the